when we make a plan, God laughs, and that will never be made more clear to you than in the years 2025 and 2026, with North Node transiting Pisces and South Node transiting Virgo. Hi, my name's Haley Comet, and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet, where we discuss all things astrology, and today, all things North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, 2025 to 2026, and you. Where fate is finding you in the next year and a half, how you are being launched forward towards your soul's purpose, how things that were always destined to be yours are snapping into alignment. But also, what in your life may be taken away, what in your life you're being asked to surrender, what in your life you may be asked to release, what plans in your life you may have to let go of throughout this next year and a half and throughout these eclipses. Because ultimately, when we talk about North Node and South Node, we're essentially talking about where most of the eclipses will be concentrated within this next year and a half. And if you're familiar with eclipses, they tend to be a little chaotic. They tend to be a little volatile. They tend to be a little messy. And we all know how South Node in Virgo feels about mess. And if you don't know, trust me, this video will make you quite aware of that. Fate is not always clean. Destiny is not always orderly. Karma is not always controlled and organized and understood and analyzed how South Node in Virgo would probably like it to be. It's not always easy to trust the process, but North Node in Pisces is asking us to trust the process, to let go of the plan of how we thought things should unfold and allow ourselves to receive the divinity of the plan that is unfolding, to let go of this notion of perfection in order to embrace the perfection of how everything is showing up. It's a time to let go of our plan and surrender to the divine's plan, which can be a frustrating process if you allow it to be. You know, when we talk about eclipses, when we talk about nodal story, it's not necessarily something that we have control over, which can lead to a lot of panic and worry, a lot of clinging to our own plan and the ways that things should work out and ought to work out. And while we don't have control over what changes are coming to the life arenas that hold Pisces and Virgo within your chart that we'll be talking about, where our destiny is being accelerated, where our growth is taking us, what new chapters are coming into awareness, while we don't have control over that, what we do have control over is how easeful of a process we allow it to be, how much we surrender to the way that things are and let go of the ways that we thought it should be, ought to be. Let go, surrender, trust. This is the ask with North Node in Pisces. And in that process of letting go, of surrendering, of letting destiny take the wheel, of letting fate carry you into the next chapter of your life and of your growth, you will happen upon moments of pure magic, moments of synchronicity, moments that are so divinely orchestrated that you know this couldn't have even been something that you could have concocted within your mind, within your plans. And that's the magic when we let things be as they are rather than forcing how we think things should be. Is that a lot of times the universe has something planned in store for us that's so much more beautiful than we could have ever imagined it to be. There are so many ways that spirit is working around you and through you that North Node in Pisces will make abundantly clear to you if you get out of your head and into your soul. It is really such a strong nudge from this transit. So we will be discussing both this overall story, North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. I would deeply recommend listening to the collective portion because understanding this duality, understanding this axis and how it shows up is going to give you a lot of clarity around what is in store for the next year and a half, how fate is finding you, how destiny is working around you and through you. That's going to be helpful to keep in mind, just the collective implications of North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. From there, we'll take it into how you can find where in your chart the nodes and thus most of the eclipses will land in within your chart. Essentially, we'll take it in a house by house analysis. Houses within astrology represent life arenas. So it's not that our entire life is being flipped over on its side by destiny, by fate, but dialing into where it's transiting within your chart can help you figure out what within your life may be subject to some shifts. Destined shifts, but but shifts nonetheless. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into our North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo collective analysis, surrendering to spirit. So the North Node will be concentrated in the Pisces section of the sky, and the South Node will be concentrated in the Virgo section of the sky from January 11th, 2025 until April 28th, 2026. But the story, the fated events, the drama potentially is going to extend beyond that time frame. And here's why. First thing you need to know, the nodes are not actual celestial bodies. It's a calculation. And it's a calculation that represents where the eclipses will land. We have Virgo Pisces eclipses that land even when the North Node is not in Pisces and the South Node is not in Virgo, simply because of proximity. For example, in the year 2024, September 17th, 2024, we had a Pisces lunar eclipse. North Node was still in Aries at that point, but because the North Node was located in the very early degrees of Aries, and because that lunar eclipse landed with the sun in the very late degrees of Virgo, it happened to be an eclipse, which still brings forward this overarching theme of North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, even though the actual transit does not begin until January 2025. This also extends after the North Node has shifted out of Pisces, moved into Aquarius. The South Node has shifted out of Virgo, moved into Leo. We will still have Virgo and Pisces eclipses continuing on until February 2027. When we have Virgo and Pisces eclipses, it's kicking up this story. So that story extends from 2024 to 2027, even though the nodes will be literally concentrated in this point of the sky from early 2025 until midway through 2026. When we talk about the nodes, we talk about opposition. They move in tandem. They move as an axis. The North Node signifies a place of focus, concentration, hunger, thirst, ambition. There's a lot of energy being directed towards that sign and the sector of your chart that we'll be discussing. And South Node signals a place of decrease, of letting go, of release, where less energy can be concentrated. And so it's a time of more so embracing Piscean themes and letting go of Virgo themes when we just consider this archetypally without pulling in the houses. And so to explore this energy and what you can expect, I'd like to walk us through some dualities in order to get to know this Virgo Pisces axis. The first being embrace flow, let go of force. When we talk about Pisces, we talk about the spirit of flow. Pisces is a water sign. We're being asked to flow with the currents. We might like the currents, we might not like the currents, but there's an ask to flow with them. And again, those currents are going to take you into some very magical, very synchronistic moments. But there's an ask to let things be as they are. Let it go, let it flow. Because if we try to force, represented by South Node and Virgo, we can find that we expend and waste a lot of needless energy. I want to firstly bring this up in reference to the Virgo desire for improvement. Virgo is around wanting things to be the best that they can be, wanting people to be the best that they can be. And during South Node in Virgo, you are being asked to release a certain degree of control. Virgo is the energy around, if I do this and this, I will get this. If you do this and this, you will be better. But this can be a time that we get incredibly frustrated trying to force people to change, force things to be different, force people to be different. The energy of North Node Pisces, you are being asked to just flow with the ways that things are, flow with the ways that people are. People do not change unless they want to. And with the energy of South Node Virgo, you can drive yourself crazy throughout this period trying to force your spouse to be cleaner, trying to force your sibling to prioritize their health more, trying to force your employee to work harder. At the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do. This is sort of an energy around let them or let it. Let the universe, because the thing is, when we try to force things, force people to change, nitpick and criticize and hyperfixate on the changes that we'd like to see within other people or however this shows up, We could be yanking people out of their own divine path, the ways that they are meant to navigate through this world, lessons that they were meant to learn. If you try to control your spouse and their cleaning habits, if you try to control your sibling and their health patterns, you could be intervening in a sense with the divine and the path that they are on. At the end of the day, you have to let people be on the path that they're on and flow as the soul that they are meant to be. Even if you, within the ways that you view things, would want things to be different, that's not your lessons to learn. You got to let people do their own push-ups, because the energy of Virgo, sometimes it comes from a good place, but we could want to force people to change or force people to be better, force things to be better. And we can find, particularly during this time, people have to want it for themselves. They have to flow with what it is that they're meant for. They have to learn their own lessons. No matter how much you care about somebody, you cannot force somebody to change, force someone to be better, force something in your life to improve. Now, this isn't to say, because Virgo does have to deal with work and health and things like this, it's not to say that throughout this period and the eclipses that we need to, let ourselves go and never work hard. But it's important to see where it is that we can flow with the ways that things are unfolding, the ways that we can just accept things as they are, not how we think they should be, not how we think people should be, but just being like, all right, you're on your own journey, I'm on my own journey. Let me find acceptance here. Because ultimately, when we talk about Virgo, we talk about this idea of perfection, of wanting things to be perfect. And we can find fault in anything. We can find fault in anyone. And the ask with North Node Pisces is to focus more so on the divinity. Yes, your spouse is messy. Yes, your sibling probably doesn't have great health habits. Yes, your employee probably works in a different way that you do. Absolutely. But there's also a lot to appreciate about them, around the unique soul that they are, that the divine constructed them to be. And just as you can find fault within anything and anyone, you can also find beauty within anything and everyone. When you allow things to be as they are and don't view it through your mind around the orderly way that you approach things, or the analyzed way that you approach things, or even just the ways that you think that person should live your life. It's not your life. It's not your destiny. It's not your calling. And with the energy of North Node Pisces, it is an ask to focus on what is good, what is divine, what is beautiful, even if that's different than the ways that you think it should be, or the systems that you have. Because that's what Virgo denotes, is the details of something. If you look close enough, you're gonna find issues with your spouse, you're gonna find issues with your sibling, you're gonna find issues with your employee. If you zero in and if you obsess and if you nitpick those small details, absolutely. None of us are perfect. We all have ways that we could improve. And during this particular period, it's an opportunity to play with what is right about situations rather than what's wrong. We can find fault in anything and everyone, but that doesn't necessarily need to be what we're focusing upon. Energy flows where attention goes. So ask yourself, if you are zeroing in on what's not there within your life, or the qualities that your spouse doesn't have, what your sibling is not prioritizing, are you focusing more so on that, or are you focusing on their great attributes? Because it's important to know that whenever we view people or situations, we're doing so from our own vantage point around what qualities we think are important, what we think would make this person better, happier, healthier, cleaner, what have you. We're viewing it from our own paradigm, the ways that the divine organized us to be. Maybe we naturally hold values of health and naturally hold values of order and organization because that's how the divine made us. That's our own authenticity. That's our own truth. So we look out at the world and think that everybody needs to be the ways that we are because that's how we were made. So we think everybody needs to care about what we care about. And that's not the case. Like with the energy of North Node Pisces, you gotta let people be who they are. They might be on a different path. It might objectively be something that being cleaner might actually be better, being healthier might actually be better, but it's important to know that if that's part of that soul's path, that is their journey, that's their destiny, that's lessons that they need to learn. And you might burn yourself out trying to force people to change, force things to be something that it's not. And they, the people that you're trying to control or force to change, they might have certain ways around how you live your life that is not ideal for them. Like with the energy of North Node Pisces, it's important to dial into what's right rather than just what's wrong. Because the energy of Virgo, it finds the details around how to improve, how to make better, how to streamline. But when you take a step back, when you just take in the soul, your spouse, your sibling, your job, whatever it is, when you take it from the big picture, there's a lot of right there. There's a lot of beauty there when you stop trying to find fault intentionally. Because when we talk about Pisces and Virgo as an axis, we bring forward this interesting story around perfection. Because ultimately Virgo wants perfection. It's a very perfectionistic sign. And sometimes it's this energy around, if only my spouse was cleaner, if only my sibling was healthier, if only I was better at these particular things. This hustle and this chasing, trying to make things perfect, but we live in an imperfect reality. And the more we try to stay hyper-focused on everything being perfect and dialed in and streamlined and flawless, the more issues are going to rise. It's a little bit like that arcade game, if you've ever played it, where there's like those groundhogs and you have to hit them with the little like stuffed hammer thing. That's not a very nice game, come to think of it, but something's always popping up. So you might fix this attribute of your spouse, or at least try to, or nitpick enough where they're like, fine, I'll do it. But then another element that you notice comes up and now all your attention goes there. If you're looking for an issue, if you're looking for a mistake, if you're looking for something that's wrong, you will always find it. You will always find it. And so it really is around balancing where that tendency might be alive within your world, with also tuning into what is right, what is beautiful. Because Pisces represents this part of perfection that's just around how things unfold. You know, nature is perfect, right? It has its seasons, it has its cycles, it all aligns as it's meant to. That's not to say that every season is enjoyable, right? Not everybody loves winter. Parts of it seem very messy when all the leaves fall down and litter on the ground, but it's all perfect in all of its seasons and all of its cycles, allowing things to be as they are. You know, like us trying to force other people to change is like the birds trying to tell the trees how to fly. That's not what they're meant to do. That's not part of their path. That's not how they're meant to operate. And so there's an ask during this time to just see the perfection in how things are unfolding, even if it's not perfect when you view it around the order and the streamline. It's perfect in terms of how it's unfolding. It's a bit like looking at a painting. If you look at a painting too close, you're going to see all sorts of issues. You're going to see brush strokes that could have been made longer. You're going to see colors that don't exactly match. The energy of North Node Pisces is take a step back. You know, you could hyperfixate and obsess around all the issues, or you could take a step back and just enjoy the art, enjoy the beauty of it. You know, when we view people through this lens around what could be better, or view anything in our life through this lens around what could be better, we miss out on just the beauty and the divinity of what it is and how it is. And certainly it's not my suggestion during this time that we all need to like slack off or not have standards of excellence for what it is that we require from ourselves as well as from others. But it's knowing that if you chase perfectionism at this time, if you try to make everything perfect, if you try to make sure your home is clean 24/7, you're going to just invite a lot of neurosis and anxiety into your life, constantly changing that. It's a bit like being a new mother or something like this and feeling like you always have to have your house clean and stressing so much around making sure that the house is always clean that you're missing out on spending time with your child. On spending time with your child. You know, your house could be a mess, but you could be really enjoying playing blocks with your child, and that's a moment that you won't get back. That's a moment that's perfect. Even if you really ought to dust the baseboards, and even if there's blocks on the ground, and even though little Jimmy spilt some maple syrup, it's perfect in its messiness. See where it is that you can embrace and find the perfection within the messiness. Because if you chase perfection during this time, if you try to make sure the baseboards are perfect and this is dialed in, everything's picture perfect and organized and analyzed and have control over every element, you're going to miss these beautiful, perfect moments that are messy, certainly, but are perfect. Moments that are filled with emotion, moments that are filled with magic, moments that are filled with gratitude. A grateful heart will find more to be grateful for. A cynical eye will find more to be cynical about. Because again, if we're fault finding, if we're nitpicking, if we're criticizing, if we're looking to areas of ourself that could be made better, areas of other people that could be made better, it's bottomless. It'll be endless. You'll just find a laundry list of all of the issues, all of the mistakes, all of the problems. It never ends. And so there's parts of it around just training yourself to tune into what's right, what's beautiful, what am I grateful for? And the energy of North Node Pisces, even if things are messy, even if things are not going according to plan, what's going right? From a spiritual, soulful level, what's going right? What am I grateful for? How can I be grateful even in these moments of messiness? Because as I highlighted, eclipses tend to be a little tumultuous, and there might be things that are not going according to plan, okay? The energy of Virgo, it likes to feel in control. It likes to have a plan. And things are going to divert from your plan a bit throughout this nodal cycle. But what's always going according to plan? Everything is always going according to the divine's plan. And sometimes perfection is unfolding in times that we consider are quite flawed. Like you might not get something that you really wanted. You might be rejected from someone that you really wanted. You might find that your plan around wanting to move this year doesn't unfold in the timeline that you wanted. But you could find, after we get some distance from these eclipses, from this nodal cycle, that everything worked out perfectly. It's like, thank God I didn't get this because this was so much better. Or thank God I'm not with that person because some stuff came out about them and I was honestly being spared from that person and their issues. Or thank God I didn't move that year because then I wouldn't have met this person and things wouldn't have snapped into alignment. Things are always working around and through you, but we're not always conscious of it at the time being. So there might be certain things, you can even think back within your world. Think about things that seemed like the end of the world when it unfolded, but now with time, you're actually incredibly grateful because it either prompted some significant soul growth for you, or it cleared the way for something that's so much better. Like we have to navigate this season through this energy of trust and surrender. And even just taking on a affirmation such as everything works out perfectly. It's not going to seem like it at the moment that everything's working out perfectly. And we could tear our hair out and obsess and worry and criticize. Like we can get deep in that Virgo energy around it, but it's so important throughout North Node and Pisces to retreat to that place of peace and serenity and trust within you around trusting it's all working out perfectly, even if I don't see it from my human mortal perspective. Because this brings up the duality of the Pisces-Virgo axis, of that Pisces is about divinity and Virgo is about reality. Virgo is an earth sign. It's around what we taste and touch and smell within the here and now, right? It's our senses, it's our bodies. And Pisces is around our soul. And there is an ask to tap into our divinity and know that you are so much more than this physical vessel. You are so much more than this particular season of your life. If you look around just at what is currently around you physically, you will miss out on all that is happening within you as well as for you, from the angels, from your spirit guides, from your ancestors, from God, universe, whatever it is that you want to name that something more. North Node in Pisces urges you to find that connection to your something more. North Node in Pisces asks us to put our faith in something bigger than ourselves, because this helps us build that muscle of trust in the seasons of our life, in the perfection of how everything is unfolding. And I would encourage you throughout this period to really have something that's bigger than you, to be a source of faith, to be an anchor point in those moments where things feel a little messy, in those moments where things are not going according to plan. This could be placing your faith in a spiritual system, in a religion, in your ancestors, in working with the angels, and working with God, and working with the universe, and trusting the universe. If that doesn't align for you, maybe it's some sort of altruistic cause. Maybe it's your connection to nature. Maybe it's your connection to music. It's simply a connection to something that's bigger than yourself. Something that gives you a sense of perfection, even if in the present moment things feel to be a mess. Something that makes you step out of your own physical embodiment within this particular lifetime and step into the something more. To remember the soul that you are, that is not just limited to this particular vessel, that is not just limited to this particular moment, and to remember the calling that you have, the purpose that you have. You know, a lot of us during North Node and Pisces could step into some sort of spiritual calling, something that makes us feel like we're doing something that's so much bigger than ourselves. You know, a lot of people throughout North Node and Pisces could feel awakened to something, awakened to a purpose, to a calling, something that feels bigger than themselves, something that makes them feel connected to something bigger than themselves, because you are so much bigger than just your current reality right now. You are not defined by your physical vessel that encases you. You are part of something that is infinite and bigger than yourself. And the more that you connect to that, and facilitate the rituals within your day-to-day that help you remember that, the more that you're able to find this trust, the more that you're able to surrender, because you recognize, I'm not in it alone. You know, the energy of Virgo, sometimes we can feel like if I don't do something, it won't get done, right? I've got to control and analyze and plan, or else nothing will happen. And the more that you connect to a spiritual system, the more that you connect to the universe, the more that you trust, things are moving without even my participation. Like, things are aligning for me on my behalf. The universe knows my heart, my soul, my gifts, my talent, my potential, and is orchestrating things and aligning things for me on my behalf. I don't need to chase and hustle and force and push in order to have things unfold. And if that's a hard or difficult belief system for you to build, I would encourage you to think back on past experiences, like jobs that just snapped into alignment without too much effort on your part, or even just houses where you just knew this is going to be mine, and it was. I really want you to witness the ways that synchronicity has already been alive within your world, the ways that you felt very supported by the universe, and build that muscle, because the more that we trust in that, the more when something doesn't go according to plan, when we don't get the job that we wanted, when we don't get the house that we wanted, we trust, you know, when it's meant for me, it's easy. It aligns, it orchestrates. And because I know that I'm co-creating with the universe, I know that what's meant for me is coming into my experience. It helps you trust and surrender and not feel like you have to force or chase, because the best things in life, the things that were truly meant for you, it's not that you won't have to work for them in some regard, but it won't be around this resistance and this forcing and this uphill battle. A lot of times when we flow and we surrender and we trust in the universe's plan, things just align in the most magical, serendipitous way. And the more you can think back to past times in your life that has been something that you've experienced, the more that you can trust whatever the next year and a half has in store, whatever these eclipses have in store, the more that you can trust it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. This opportunity did not come to me because the universe is orchestrating something better for me. Or if there's something negative that occurs, again, when we connect to the divine cycles of things, when we connect to our calling and our purpose, we recognize how these experiences teach us and mold us into the human that we're meant to be. We see how it accelerates our path and accelerates our destiny. Not always pleasant to go through, but it helps us step into what we are meant for. You know, the Pisces Virgo axis has a lot to do with being of service. Pisces in a spiritual way and Virgo in a physical way. And when we are of service, we do connect to something that is bigger than ourselves. There's been so many times in my life that I've gone through something challenging that I would not particularly want to repeat, but I recognize how much spiritual value was interwoven with my having gone through that. I recognize how I wouldn't be able to share the perspective that I have on my YouTube channel or with my clients working in one-on-ones had I not been initiated by those particular experiences. As I recognize how those experiences launched me forward into my path, into my calling, I recognize the parts of myself that became clearer having gone to the other side of it. I don't mean to imply that we're all going to go through something incredibly challenging, and it's not to say if you're in the midst of something challenging, you need to be like it's all good, but it is just an energy around, it's not happening to me. It's not the cosmos, the universe being mean to me, it's happening for me. We came here to life school, we came here to planet Earth to learn and to grow and to evolve as souls. And so the more that you balance your physical experience of being in the thick of it, because Virgo is very physical, it's very tangible. Sometimes we're just in a certain situation where it's like, I'm in this and I feel like I'm always going to be in this. But the energy of North Node Pisces is like, no, but I'm part of something so much bigger. And when I acknowledge that, I understand the cycles and the rhythms of things. I understand that I am working and collaborating with the universe and that these experiences are here to teach me and grow me and evolve me. And I'm able, even if things are not perfect right now, I'm able to tune into what I am grateful for. Again, building that muscle of North Node Pisces. What is alive currently that you are grateful for? Do not get so interwoven with the Virgo energy around where in your life could be made better that you forget to tune into the unique magic of this particular season of our lives. We tend to be very attached within the present moment. Like we think that our current living situation, our current relationship, or whatever season of life that you're in, we tend to think it's always going to be like this. It's always going to be like this. Because when we find our experience of life very encoded in the physicality, in what's tangible and what's in our existence currently, we tend to feel like it's always going to be like this. It's always going to be like this. But things are constantly moving and shifting and aligning for you. Every single day that you have is not going to be the same as the day prior. Tune into the unique magic of this day of your life. Strive to see it with fresh eyes. Strive to tune into what it is that you are grateful for. Grateful heart will magnetize more to be grateful for. And know that this will not last forever. The more that we tap into our spiritual truth, our spiritual awareness, the more that we recognize that this moment is a gift. Even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, this moment is a gift. And with the energy of North Node Pisces, even if there's certain elements of your life that feel to be a disaster, it's tapping into a form of transcending reality that gives you hope. It helps remind us that this too shall pass, that you're not in this alone. There's a lot that's going right. Even if at this present moment, it seems like it's all going wrong, it's so that it can all go right. What's not working out now is because the universe has something better in store, because you're meant to learn from what's not working out, because there's some character development that's necessary. And the more that you can work that muscle and really believe in that, the more that you intentionally look out for how things are going right. You look for proof in your reality around how the universe is with you and supporting your journey. And thus you magnetize more blessings your way. So the more that you can really see yourself as a co-creator with the universe around, even if things feel like they're all going wrong, I know because I have trust in God, I have trust in my spiritual support team, I have trust in my ancestors, whatever it is, I trust that it's so that it can all go right. You will look for proof in your reality that suggests that it's all going right, or that things are aligning and orchestrating on your own behalf. Believe in that, feel in that. And that's hard to do, is cultivating this muscle of trust, especially if that's not something that you are particularly familiar with. With the energy of South Node Virgo, we could feel like we need to force change if we're unhappy with our circumstances. We could feel like we need to obsess about what in our life is not going right. But with the energy of North Node Pisces, it's flowing with this current season of your life and trusting that the current is taking you into the next season of your life. And I would deeply encourage you during this time to really pay attention to your intuition, pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to the ways that spirit is with you. It may transcend logic or reason in some particular moments, which may be something that we are asked to release during this time. You know, with South Node Virgo, Virgo is a Mercury ruled sign. Mercury is of the mind, it's of the intellect, it's of what makes sense. There might be certain gut feelings that you're like, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that I feel off about this, or it doesn't make sense that I feel so drawn to this when logically I should be drawn in this particular direction. The universe and spirit is not just something that's around us, it's within us. Like, you are a part of the cosmos, you are a part of the universe. And the most accurate GPS that will take you towards what is meant for you is your intuition around what feels right, even if it doesn't make sense, what feels right for you, and just following that pull, trusting it, having the rituals that help you tune in, because our intuition is the most accurate voice, but it tends to be a quiet one, especially South Node Virgo's the overthinking. What if it all goes wrong? The energy of North Node Pisces is paying attention to what it is that you are being magnetized towards, just like following a wave, following a current, what it is that you're just feeling pulled towards. And it's important not to overthink it. It's important to have those rituals that help you separate your overthinking logical mind and from your intuition speaking to you. And again, we all have different ways of connecting to our intuition, but I would just encourage you, whatever makes you feel connect to something more, whether it's being on a hike, whether it's pulling tarot cards, whether it's meditating, I would just encourage you throughout this time, whenever you're confused, you have to make a decision, it's time to turn your brain off and turn your soul on. With the energy of North Node in Pisces, your soul will not lead you astray. And I want to let you know that sometimes things are not meant for us in our own path. We could want something so bad, we could chase something, and sometimes it's just not meant to be. It's like not part of our own soul contract, like the experiences that we were meant to have. And with the energy of South Node Virgo, that could feel not fair. It's like I did all the right steps, or I had this particular timeline. Why me? Why me? Why me? And the energy of North Node Pisces is more so approaching it around, why me? Like, it's approaching this energy around, why was I designed this way, with these particular passions, with this particular personality, with this particular vessel that I'm encapsulated in? What am I meant for? Rather than chasing things that I am not meant for, how can I find things that I am made for and meant for, and not force my own plan when the universe clearly has something better in store? Because I keep forcing this and clearly it's not working. And so the energy of North Node Pisces, it's embracing the divinity of your own journey and the uniqueness of your own journey. And it's really stepping into what makes you feel connected to something more, where it is that you could even be of service with this Pisces Virgo axis. And knowing that we can't force fate, right? We can't force things into alignment. Again, I'm a proponent of free will, but there are some things that are just not meant to be with our experience down here on planet Earth. And we could fight that, we can resist that. That could be something that feels very heartbreaking or very disappointing, but it also can be this release or this surrender. So if you feel like you've been efforting, if you feel like you've been forcing or trying to make something work, trying to make something come into alignment, the energy of North Node Pisces can be around just this element of acceptance. Around, rather than me trying to decide how my life is going to be, let me just see how it's already unfolding. Let me embrace what my life is at this point, rather than chasing what it is not. This doesn't mean give up. This doesn't mean for the next year and a half, do nothing, just sit in your room and be like, if it's meant for me, it'll find me. But it is saying, if you have been forcing and efforting and not getting the results that you want, see what happens when you let go. See what happens when you cultivate an energy of peace and surrender and just letting things be as they are, letting these cycles organically take place. The best things in life just happen. Just snap into alignment, snap into awareness. And so it's no longer trying to plan the ending, is the energy of South Node Virgo. It's allowing yourself to be surprised by where this wave of life is taking you and releasing a huge part of your suffering by forcing or clinging. Just let go. And it's not saying that you won't have what it is that you desire. It just may not be in the form that you wanted, in the timeline that you wanted. There's an energy to see what God's cooking up for you. Okay, if you've been trying to force something into alignment, let God take the reins, let the universe take the reins, because it might actually take you to a cooler destination that you would have never imagined within that noggin of yours. And so there is an energy around stepping into the magic, really just falling into the flow of the universe and allowing yourself to be surprised by it. And while that might just have certain energies around, okay, there's certain experiences that I wanted to have that maybe not this lifetime, maybe I'm being set up for something more. How can I just release what is not in order to embrace what is, and trust that things are constantly unfolding and aligning? And the more that I stay stuck around my own visions and things that aren't working, the more I'm not paying attention to what the universe is trying to bring into my world. Stay anchored in the present moment, because opportunities are all around you. And when we get too much in the South Node Virgo energy around analyzing, hyperfixating, obsessing, worrying, what if it doesn't happen for me? It's all happening. It's all happening right now. Pay attention, look around. And like I said, this axis brings up this theme of service. Pisces in more so of a spiritual way, and Virgo in more so of a physical way. And so there can be an ask with North Node Pisces around where you are of spiritual service to other individuals. And yes, maybe some of you are spiritual leaders, spiritual practitioners, where how it is that you serve humanity is through your intuitive and spiritual gifts, absolutely. But whatever it is that you do, you can do it with heart, you could do it with soul, you could do it with compassion, you could do it with empathy. And that's the ask with North Node Pisces, is to see where it is that you can make someone's day, where it is that you can ease the suffering of the human condition by being kind to other individuals. Sometimes we do feel awakened to a particular spiritual purpose. Some of us could really step into our intuitive gifts during this time. But sometimes with the energy of North Node Pisces, it's just recognizing that even if to a physical level, I'm just making your coffee for you, if I do so while looking you in the eyes, if I do so by giving you a genuine compliment, if I do so by, in that moment, being present with you soul to soul and making you feel understood, I am being of service to you in such a bigger way. And so there's an energy with North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo, is to look at the forest of your life, not just the trees. Like to the trees, it's like, I just had to pour the espresso and then the milk and then the water. Pay attention to not just what you do, but how you do it, and how you do it with soul, and how you do it with compassion, how you do it with empathy. And with the energy of North Node Pisces, again, you don't need to love everything that people do and everything that people are. But with the energy of North Node Pisces, it is around this spirit of acceptance, accepting that people are going to do what they're going to do, accepting that things unfolded in the ways that they did, and seeing how you, as a soul that you are, can learn from these experiences. This is going to be an interesting time for the perfectionists. The more that you cling to this idea of perfection, the more that you overwork yourself and you hustle and you chase and you try to make every element of your life orderly, the more that you could feel like that perfection eludes you. North Node in Pisces is asking you to embrace who you are, messiness and all, mistakes and all. That does make you beautiful. The ways that you are not perfect, but the ways that you are as you are designed to be. You know, as we step into this more universal, divine way of viewing the world, we give ourselves permission to play with viewing ourselves how the divine would. Yes, there might be things that you want to improve or fix or change about yourself, certainly. But in the eyes of God, in the eyes of the universe, you are perfect in your imperfections, right? We all do have things that we could work on, but it's not hating yourself. It's not weaving in these elements of guilt and shame that honestly the archetype of Virgo can be associated with. This guilt around not being perfect, this shame around hyperfixating on all of the ways that we are not perfect. Let go, just be as you're meant to be, messiness and all, just flow. We are all a part of something bigger than ourselves, and we can all remind other humans that they're part of something bigger than themselves as well. That can come through in the ways that you write, the ways that you play your music, the ways that you mentor, the ways that you lead can be a way of doing just that. And when we connect to the universe, we connect into this infinite intelligence, this endless source of creativity. And it's important what you listen to within yourself. If you are somebody who downloads information, who channels, or who even just feels when you're playing music or when you're leading a corporate call, when you feel that sense that something's kind of like moving through you and you feel connected to something bigger than yourself, it's important what you tap into within yourself, because there will be a voice of judgment within you, your inner critic, who gets hyper aware that other people might be finding fault with you. And when you listen to that and begin to judge the music that you're playing, begin to judge the words that you're sharing, begin to judge the ideas that you are presenting on at the meeting, and start to worry about everyone's perceptions and what everybody else is thinking, you will cut off that flow from the universe. And the thing is, you really can't please everyone. Like, there will be people who are committed to misunderstanding you. There will be people who are committed to tearing you apart, finding errors in what it is that you're sharing, fault finding. I'm sure throughout the course of this video, like, there has been 30 things that you've noticed could be better or could be improved. Like, no matter how hard we try to be perfect and to make it perfect for everybody, we will always come up short. And the devastating factor of that is that when we listen to that judgmental voice and we start to think about how people are going to pull out what's wrong about what is moving through us, we disconnect to that flow from the universe, which will not be for everybody, right? Not every song is for everybody. Not every YouTube video is for everybody. Not every idea presented at a meeting is for everybody. But it's important to know that you are a conduit for the universe, for spirit. And the more that you judge yourself as a conduit for these ideas, the more that ultimately you're judging the universe. You're judging what is moving through you. There have been so many times in a video where I'm downloading or channeling information and my judgmental voice will be like, oh, remember people comment that you talk with your hands too much, or oh, that probably sounds so out there or so woo-woo. And then the flow of insight just completely stops from within because I've tuned into this judgmental voice within me, the ways that I'm judging myself. But it's important to let things flow. You can have a standard for what it is that you do without trying to please everyone or make everything perfect for everybody. And this axis also reminds us that we truly cannot pray and worry at the same time. Like, we really choose. And the ask with North Node Pisces is to encourage prayer. And what I mean by that is giving problems over to God, giving them over to the universe, trusting that things will handle themselves. Things will work out. They always do. They always do. And with South Node Virgo, it's like worrying is just investing in a future scenario that we don't want to come true. It's like putting our energy towards the worst case scenario, because you could try to perfect and plan and there will still be things that go wrong. Like, truly, worry does not achieve anything beyond stressing ourselves out. And so whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, whether it's surrender, it's important during this time to see where you can tap into that zone of serenity within you, trusting that it will make sense one day, that things are unfolding as they are meant to, and to strive to not stress yourself out too much around worrying and obsessing and fixating. Let things be as they are, even if it's different than how you thought that they should be. In closing the collective exploration of North Node in Pisces, I'd like to share just how healing and powerful it could be to say, it is what it is. You know, Pisces as a sign does typically cope through humor, right? So it's important during this axis not to take ourselves so seriously. You know, who are we, mere mortals, to expect perfection from ourselves, right? Who are we to expect that? Like, we came here to be human beings. We need to not take ourselves so seriously at this time and beat ourselves up about mistakes. It's like, we are a human trying our best. And the energy of North Node Pisces is to see where it is that you can laugh at the absurdities of life, at the detours of life, at the random ways that things just all align and click into place exactly as they're meant to. With the energy of North Node Pisces, there's an ask to step into a more serene state of mind. And that serenity is not everything being calm and perfect, but just this serenity around recognizing it all is what it is. And my work is to just look at it and be like, is that so? Because when we connect to the truth that we are a soul and connect to something so much bigger than ourselves, it's really not so serious. Like, none of us are going to get out of this experience alive. There could be good things that happen, there could be bad things that happen. And there's an ask with North Node Pisces to just flow with it, to look at it and be like, is that so? Okay. It is what it is. These detours in my path are what they are. And I could fight and I could force and I could obsess and I could try to make it something different, but it is what it is. And maybe that's even a spirit of acceptance that you're finding from the past. If there's an energy where you feel like things have gone wrong and you're holding on to a lot of hurt and a lot of regret, the energy of North Node Pisces is around letting go. It was what it was. It is what it is. That's how the cookie crumbled. And it's just letting it go and letting it flow. With the energy of South Node Virgo, it can feel like it's not fair. I did all the right things. This was not a part of the plan. But the energy of North Node Pisces is around really building that muscle around it is what it is. And whether it's good things or whether it's bad things, it's just recognizing the cycles of life, you know, that we are constantly part of these ups and downs, these fluctuations within this experience, and to see wherever possible we can release attachment to things, attachment to certain plans, attachment to certain things showing up in our life in a certain way. It's being grateful during the highs and graceful during the lows, and seeing where it is that you can build that muscle around. Is that so? And the good news is, when things are bad, it will not stay that way forever. And when things are good, embrace it, be grateful for it, because things are constantly in flux. And the more that you can detach from expectation, the more that you allow yourself to be surprised by life and truly carried by the universe. While we're all gathered here in the Cosmic Corner, I also wanted to specifically talk to those who have their own natal nodes in the signs Pisces or Virgo. So this means that you have your North Node, known in some chart calculators as true node, in the signs Pisces or Virgo. So I want to speak to those individuals. Please feel free to jump to the next timestamp if that does not apply to you, because if you have your North Node or your South Node in Pisces or Virgo, this indicates that you are having a nodal transit, and the nuances of this I will detail here. So firstly, let's talk if you within your own birth chart have North Node in Pisces, True Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. You, my love, are in your nodal return. Now, I do have a deep dive video on this topic that I'll link below, but I want to particularly illuminate this in terms of this particular nodal story. Overall, South Node represents areas of expertise for our soul. This could represent where we have certain talents and abilities from early in life or from past incarnations. It does represent a cosmic comfort zone, so to speak, an area that we can get stuck in at times. If we don't, balance it with the North Node, which for you would be Pisces, which is the path that we are being asked to walk. Not the easiest path. You know, it's uncharted territory for our soul. It tends to be an arena of our life that we can resist or have some fear around fully integrating because we haven't been there before. It's new and novel. And a lot of times when we do walk down that path, we do tap into new talents and abilities and really our purpose the more that we follow the call of that North Node. And so when we think about where the North Node is now and where the South Node is now, it's meeting up with where they are in your birth chart. It's a review time. It's a review around whether you've been doing this work around your North Node and your South Node. Have you been living in your South Node Virgo? Have you been a perfectionist? Have you been critical of yourself and others? Have you been focusing more so on what's going wrong rather than what's going right? Have you been getting so lost in the details or what in your life feels messy or out of control that you are forgetting to appreciate the divinity and the perfection around you? If the answer is yes, you are existing more so in your South Node Virgo, and this transit, this next year and a half, is going to write the course of your world to ensure that you are really integrating those themes of North Node Pisces, tuning into the divinity, surrendering into the divine's plan for you, seeing the perfection, the divinity of what's happening around you, being able to encourage a sensation of acceptance for both others as well as yourself. And you'll also want to look at the houses that this is located in, because you are prioritizing Pisces plus the house that it's located in within your birth chart, and you're being asked to shadow release the shadow sides of what your South Node, Virgo, and whatever house it's placed in represents. Now, you can appreciate your South Node, like with South Node Virgo, a lot of you are individuals who are very, very helpful. There is an energy around deeply wanting to be of service. A lot of you are very grounded, realistic individuals. So much so that sometimes you can block yourself from the spiritual growth as indicated by North Node Pisces, because it is a surrender of control, something that could make you a little scared. And so I would deeply encourage you to check out the story of your natal placement, because that will basically be reviewed during this next year and a half. Are you living true to your North Node in Pisces? Are you in alignment with your soul's progression? If the answer is yes, you can experience a lot of quickening of things that were meant for you, acceleration, a lot of rewards for doing that work. Some people feel like it's crickets. Sometimes it's more subtle during this time. I mean, if you're on track, you're on track. And so if it's a more gentle time, it's basically the universe applauding you around you're doing your due diligence, keep on going. Because if you're not on track, it tends to be a time that kind of rips us from the track that we're on to put us into alignment with our North Node Pisces story. Because if you are not on track, you are living in that South Node Virgo, you are being a perfectionist, you are being critical, you're micromanaging life and micromanaging the universe, your nodal return might get your attention. It might show you how this way of life is no longer aligned for you. You might find that your control issues, your perfectionism reaches such a state that you have no choice but to surrender. And so your nodal return could be that nudge. And sometimes, you know, the universe tries to get our awareness through whispering, and sometimes it has to get our attention through screaming around, you could not keep living in the ways that you've been living. And with the energy of South Node Virgo, taking on other people's problems, making them your own, feeling like you are imperfect, dealing with a lot of guilt or shame around the way that you are, being very hard on yourself. Again, the universe might get your awareness around how detrimental this is and how this is taking you off your soul's path. And so I will link the North Node in Pisces all signs video that I did below so you can find out what exactly is your overall life lesson and how this next year and a half is kind of speeding you towards that. If you are a North Node in Virgo, South Node in Pisces, so it's flipped. Right now, we have North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. Let's say within your birth chart, you have North Node or True Node in Virgo, South Node in Pisces. This indicates you are in your Nodal Reversal. Now, I do have a deep dive video on this topic that I will link below. But I want to give some nuance here, especially pulling in these Virgo Pisces themes. The best way that I could explain this to you is that if you were to have a biography written for your life, the title of it, the story around how you grew and overcame obstacles and your own soul's progression, the title of your overall life and your biography would be North Node Virgo and the house that it's placed in for you. Like, that is ultimately what the hero's journey of your soul is overall. But you are in an interesting period in which this is a little bit of a deviation from that. So this is a chapter of your biography. So overall, you're actually here to prioritize the themes of Virgo, prioritize these themes around improvement, taking responsibility for your life, seeing where it is that you could be proactive around problems and not let them fester. That's overall what you're here to learn. But this is a chapter of your life that you're actually being guided to prioritize something different, represented by North Node being where your South Node is. You know, South Node does signal the past. And for a lot of you, with where North Node is now meeting up with where your South Node is, this is a time in which elements from your past can come back around for a review. And sometimes this shows up literally. You move back to your hometown. You take a job at your old employer or in an industry that you used to work at, or you reconnect with someone from your past. Sometimes this is literal, like we have to go back to something from our past in order to progress forward. Sometimes it's more symbolic or it's more soulful than that. You know, South Node has a lot to do with past lives. So a lot of you during this next year and a half may be guided to recognize the past life loops that are alive within this experience. Because the biggest thing about past lives, you know, some people are really into it, some people aren't. I'm not saying you need to be super into it, but I think the most fascinating, the most helpful part of past lives is recognizing and realizing the elements of our past experiences that are infiltrating this experience. Elements where we have resistance or where we're stuck in certain patterns or cycles that don't align for us due to karma that we're bringing over from past lives. And this could be a time that you do find an element of letting go of certain cycles or themes that you are in. You know, even if it's not past life, maybe you've been in a cycle within this life, that this is a time that you are being guided to put a stop to it. You know, maybe you go back to that past employer and there's like a healing experience thinking about the you who first worked at this job all those years ago and having a new awareness around it, and maybe even like a healing or being able to really put this chapter to bed in some regard. And this could also just be contemplating your talents and your abilities. You know, a lot of you with South Node Pisces are very, very intuitive. You're very, very gifted as it relates to the mystical arts. Your overall biography of North Node Virgo is finding ways to channel and direct and to improve that energy. But some of you may be guided to go back to certain spiritual gifts that you have, even being able to go back and appreciate your sensitivity in a new lens. You know, you could have been told when you're younger you're so sensitive or you're so weird, like maybe some of you had paranormal experiences or your psychic gifts were so enormous that you had to learn ways to kind of like temper it down. And maybe for some of you, even shut it off altogether. And ultimately with North Node Virgo, you're here to ground, you're here to improve. That I suppose is part of your journey, but this might be a time around being able to reclaim the intuitive gifts that you have or the psychic gifts that you have, understanding that yes, it takes mastery and all of that as represented by your North Node Virgo, but being able to dive into the mystery of it or being able to reclaim those elements of yourself. Maybe that's not even your intuition, your psychic gifts. Maybe it's even your creativity. There's an element around going back to your past in order to kind of collect the data of what's necessary there to continue on the quest. It's kind of like that energy where before the final duel within a movie, the protagonist will like go back to their hometown in order to gather the strength, or maybe they need advice from their mentor from the past or something like this to prepare for like the final showdown. That's sort of the energy of nodal reversal, is that it's like going back to something from your past to prepare you for where you're going forward. And this will be represented by your South Node in Pisces, but also whatever house you have your South Node Pisces represented is actually an arena that you're being asked to prioritize at this time. Not within the whole of your biography, but within this chapter of your biography. And I'll drop below the video that I did, North Node and Virgo, all signs. You could just get dialed in with your overall life journey at this time and just know that this is a season of your life in which you're being asked to prioritize the opposite of what your entire life is going to be prioritizing. And when we talk about nodal reversal, I do need to be honest with you. This happened in my experience and happens with a lot of my clients' experiences. Sometimes we do feel kind of stuck or stagnant during our nodal reversal. That's how I felt, 110%. But what I will tell you is that oftentimes once this period is over, it's like you slingshot forward. You get what you needed from your past, from going back to elements of your past, from, doing the inner work in some regard, doing past life stuff if that's up your alley, and then you slingshot forward. Like you really do progress and accelerate after it, but sometimes when you're in the midst of it, you could feel a little stuck or stagnant, like wanting to move forward, but not being able to. It's kind of like if you're trying to beat a video game and it won't let you advance to the next level, and you're like, I have everything I need, let me advance to the next level, but you have like one key tool that you haven't found, and you haven't recognized that you'll need it in the next step of your journey. That's why you're experiencing delays, and that's why things might feel stagnant during this time, is because there's elements of the level that you're in, as well as past levels. There's something that you missed, or there's something you need to grab, there's some sort of gift you need to take hold of, there's something you need to review, there's something you need to heal in order to progress onward. So now that we have deeply explored the themes of Pisces and Virgo and what we can expect throughout this nodal story and these eclipses, I want to next talk about where fate is guiding you, launching you forward based on your own unique celestial blueprint. And to preface this conversation, I want to let you know that not every nodal story, not every eclipse turns our life upside down. Not every eclipse is life-changing. And thank goodness for that, because that would be a lot to navigate with. And there are certain signs, there are certain charts who will experience this particular nodal story as a bit more transformative than others. So I want to start by saying that if you have prominent personal planets, that is Sun, Moon, personal placements, that is Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, located in mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, this eclipse cycle may be a little bit more topsy-turvy, maybe a little bit more chaotic, maybe a little bit more dramatic, may have more shocking beginnings and endings. That is because the nodes and thus the eclipses will square personal placement, which tends to be a little bit more instrumental within our own soul's journey, our own growth. But we all do have a North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo story. Even if you do not have personal Pisces placements or personal Virgo placements, these eclipses are hitting a particular part of your chart. So we'll talk about how you could find which reading you should listen to about the life arenas that these eclipses will most likely shake up. So you have two options here. The first, you can simply look below, find your rising sign, also known as your ascendant sign, and skip to that timestamp. That aligns if you're newer to astrology or if you utilize whole sign house system. If you, like myself, utilize Placidus house system, you may have more than one house that holds Pisces, that holds Virgo. So I'll show you a tutorial around how you could find where in your chart is being activated by North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. So what you'll do is you go to astro.com. You'll find a circle chart like this. This is your own blueprint, your own birth chart. And you'll want to find the Pisces glyph. It looks like this, like a blue H. So from line to line, this represents the Pisces section of the sky, and thus where North Node will transit through. So you'll want to see that section of the sky, what pieces of pizza is that within? For example, in our planet Janet, we see that the Pisces glyph expands from the second house to the third house. So what that would indicate is for inner planet Janet's chart, North Node in Pisces and thus the eclipses will be concentrated in the second house and the third house. So she would look in the timestamps below and listen to two readings. Listen to North Node in Pisces in the third house and North Node in Pisces in the second house. And by tuning into those readings, it'll also talk about South Node in Virgo in the 8th and 9th because they always move as a pair. So you really just have to find out where the North Node is transiting through to figure out which timestamps you should listen to. But now that we've got that all dialed in, let's go ahead and take it into our house by house, sign by sign analysis. So if you are a Pisces ascendant or North Node in Pisces will transit through your first house, South Node in Virgo will transit through your 7th house, this reading is for you. And these eclipses will activate a story around self and other. Let's firstly talk about a point of growth for you, which is represented by the first house, the arena of self and identity. You are being guided to have faith in yourself. Pisces is around having faith in something bigger than yourself, but the energy of first house, it's honoring that even callings that are bigger than us, it's channeled through self, through who it is that you are. And this is a time, if you've been wrestling with self-doubt and not believing in your own abilities, to doubt yourself is to doubt divinity. Truly, you were made for this. If there have been certain desires, certain passions, things that you feel to some level that you were meant to do, that you have been doubting. If you have a calling or a passion or something that you connect to that feels bigger than you, but you hesitate out of self-doubt around who am I to make this dream come true? Or who am I to feel like I could make a difference within somebody's life? Who are you not to? You know, Pisces pulls in a lot of very spiritual themes, and I am of the belief that you were beautifully and intricately designed, and your passions are not random. What it is that you're pulled towards is not random. What your intuition signals you towards is not random. And with the energy of North Node Pisces in the first house, you may be guided during this time to put yourself out there, believe in yourself, step into the leader that you're here to be, the visionary you're here to be, the creative that you're here to be. You could not make your dreams come true within reality without putting yourself in the pathway for them to become a reality. And a lot of you are going to feel your soul being drawn to something, your intuition being guided to something. Follow that. Spirit talks to us in passion, Spirit talks to us in gut instinct, Spirit talks to us in inspiration and ideas, but you are the vessel, you are the conduit. You need to believe in yourself as a vessel, believe in yourself as a conduit, and you have to decide what's more scary to you. Is it more scary to put yourself in the pathway to make a dream a reality and fail or be rejected? Or is it more scary to be at the end of your life wondering what could have happened had I followed that dream? Or more importantly, with the energy in first house, who could have I been? Because that's the energy of first house. It's really a time of catalyzing a lot of growth of self. You really are going to step into your divinity throughout this eclipse cycle. You're going to be really asked to trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust your instincts, and you need to allow your own intuition to be louder than either the perceived criticism from others or the nitpicking from others, what other people think that you should do. Because you have South Node in Virgo in the 7th house. And so this represents that throughout this journey, you may find that you need to release reliance that you have on certain people's approval of you. Like the energy of North Node Pisces, some of you are embarking on a new path that not everybody will understand, and they don't have to. Again, we are all navigating these lives through our own blueprint of our own birth chart and through our own soul. We're not all here to live the same life. And with South Node Virgo, you might find that personal contacts around you might be nitpicking or critiquing you or saying, are you sure you really want to do that? Like allowing their worries and trying to make their worries louder than your intuition guiding you towards what's meant for you. It's important to be true to yourself during this time and to release needing other people to validate that or understand that. And some of you, if you've had certain contexts within your life that have played out their purpose within your world, this can be a time of people's true colors being revealed. You know, if you have certain people within your life who are constantly critical of you, who want you to be different, this can be a time that you release those particular relationships, those particular partnerships, wanting to go in directions where you are accepted for who it is that you are. I want to be so clear that by no means am I saying that we are perfect and that there's no room to grow, right? We came down here to planet Earth to be in life school, to learn and grow as humans, which means being imperfect and messy and constantly learning. But if you are around certain people where you're like, do you even like me? Like, why are you constantly nitpicking me? Why are you constantly talking down to me? Why are you constantly trying to change me? It's not to say that you don't have room to grow. We all do. But at the end of the day, we are who we are. And the path that we're on is our own path. And we need to trust the path that we're on. And if you feel like there's someone in your life who is allowing the voice of their worries and the worst case scenario and how they don't think that you have what it takes to go on this particular path to be louder than your intuition, this may be a natural point in which your paths do diverge. And I want to let you know that if certain people do leave your life during this time, it's for a reason. This is not the only way that this can show up. It can also be just releasing needing to be a part of a partner or a duo. Like North Node first house, some of you could be stepping into a project by yourself. You could be stepping up as a leader. Like it also could represent this energy around not needing validation, not needing other people to understand your perspective, not needing to be part of a duo or part of a team, rather embracing your own path or your own leadership. And the energy of South Node Virgo could also be around releasing, structuring your art, your business around the critique from others. Of course, you always want to integrate customer feedback, but if you feel like you are trying to tailor yourself, trying to be perfect for everybody else's consumption, you're going to find that you are constantly letting people down because you cannot be everything to everybody. All you can be is what the universe designed you to be. And that's really what this North Node story is about for you, is finding that path rather than forcing around if I'm only more this or if I'm only more this. You can find that it's a very frustrating time when you try to be what everybody wants you to be. This is a time to see what the divine designed you to be. And first house does have to deal with our body. So it could have to deal with visibility. And maybe there's a fear of putting yourself out there around being seen, around being perceived. Because like I said earlier, you can find fault with anything. And people do find fault with just about everything. And when we are perceived, it opens ourselves up for more criticism, for more judgment. And since I'm talking to a lot of Pisces risings, that can be hurtful. That could be harmful. You know, you all are sensitive, right? But it's just knowing that it's bigger than you. Your body is simply the container. Your body is simply the vessel. You are simply the conduit. Like for me, with my journey on YouTube, I used to really resist being visible because, you know, I'm a Virgo moon and rising, so I'm very, very hard on myself. So I had a lot of resistances around allowing myself to be perceived and thus opening myself up to hate comments. I just didn't know if I was strong enough to be able to take that level of criticism in addition to my own criticism of myself. I really had to get real with myself and tell myself, Haley, if you truly believe that astrology can be something that helps other people's lives in the ways that it has helped your life, in the ways that it has healed you, if you truly believe that you are being called to do this, it is so self-centered for you to make it about the way that you look or the way that you are perceived. My love, it's bigger than you. You are merely a conduit. You are merely a vessel for this information or for this calling. And that helped me get out of my own way around how self-centered it really is to be like, what are people going to think of my hair? And people are going to say this and people are going to say that. It's bigger than me. If one person feels more connected to their soul, it's bigger than whether or not I'm having a bad hair day, okay? Like today, I'm having a horrible hair day. The hair is just not hairing, but it's bigger than me. There might be one person who watches this video who feels inspired throughout this North Node in Pisces story, who feels comforted by this bigger cycle that's playing out. And that's bigger than a bad hair day. That's bigger than people saying I'm annoying. That's bigger than whatever hate comment is out there, because there's always going to be hate comments out there. And I see for a lot of you, not that you need to literally show up online, I just feel like there's an energy around allowing yourself to put yourself out there as a leader, to be visible, and to let go, letting haters or naysayers or criticism from others have that power over you, and to diminish what you are being called upon to do by spirit. We all have different talents. We all have different ways that we are called upon. But I feel like a lot of you with North Node Pisces are being pulled towards something. And you are being chosen for this. Do not doubt yourself. The universe knows your heart, your soul, your passion, your talents. You're being called upon for a reason. And so get out of your own way. You know, this could be a time, some of you might be prioritizing your health or your body or your appearance. Absolutely, this could be an arena of growth. But just know, you could try to be perfect. You could try to be the prettiest possible or the most fit possible. And there will still be somebody who says that you're to this or you're so that. The work, especially when it comes to your aesthetic and your appearance, which may be a focus for some of you, is to really adorn yourself and dress in the ways that make you feel true to the soul that you are. That's what I think true beauty is when our outer appearance mirrors the perfection and the beauty that is within, and intentionally cultivating a wardrobe and a way of treating your body that aligns with how it is that you feel to be, of what feels truly you. And you know, some of you may have to choose yourself and choose your own path at this time, rather than acquiescing to what other people may have wanted for you or the plan that they had for how you would fit into their life. At the end of the day, you do have to be true to your own path. And there is a law of relationships that what is best for one party is truly best for the other. Like if you are staying in a relationship that you know is no longer for you, but you feel bad, you don't want to hurt the other person, you have to take a step back and recognize like how unfair to this person's journey to hold them back from finding a partnership where the person also wants to be with them equally. Like I'm keeping myself hostage in a situation that's not suiting me because I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, but I don't think anybody wants to be in a relationship with someone who's half there, or someone who feels like their path is calling them in a different direction. Their dreams are calling them in a different direction. Because let's say you stay and you snooze your dreams or your visions around the ways that you are feeling called to live out your world. That builds and breeds resentment. And that is poison for any sort of relationship. And so some of you may be guided during this time to choose yourself and to know that honestly and truly what's best for you is best for the other person. To an ego level, they could protest, they could say, no, you can't do this. This is not the plan that I had for our life. But at the end of the day, you do have to choose yourself and choose what's pulling you and what's calling you, where the divine is pushing you at this time. And some of you might be making that decision. Some of you might have the decision made for you. But I want to let you know any change within your relationships at this time is meant to be. And that could be people coming in or people going out. It's important to trust the process. Not everybody will be having a breakup during this time. Some of you could just be releasing a pattern within your relationship around fault finding within the other person, around dialing into the other person's faults, or your partner doing that to you. Maybe your relationship roles are going through some sort of shift at this time. Maybe you have been accustomed to being this person's, right-hand man, or this person's partner, or this person's assistant. Maybe some of you are being launched forward to stepping into something that is your own, or wanting to create something that is your own, even outside of the context of the partnership. Embrace this if this does come up. If you are an Aquarius rising, or you have North Node in Pisces in the 2nd house, South Node in Virgo in the 8th house, this message is for you. And for a lot of you, fate is finding you by way of your bank account. by way of your finances. You know, some of you may experience a certain increase when it comes to the money flowing your way. But here's the thing, you know, this could expand money coming in, but also money going out. So you want to be mindful not to let it flow a little bit too much, especially since for a majority of this transit, Saturn will also be in this territory of your chart. But a lot of you are experiencing some gain or some growth within your finances. Some of you might even start something or have an inspired idea around how it is that you could grow your finances. You know, second house also has to deal with self-esteem. And so some of you could be tapping in spiritually and recognizing the value that's within you because of understanding your own divinity. You might have certain talents or certain visions that you want to make a reality that you're doubting within yourself. And if anything, you know, take this spiritual energy of North Node Pisces and allow it to encourage you to believe in yourself. You know, trust the universe, believe in yourself. And this can be something that you're being launched forward, is really trusting yourself, seeing your worth, seeing your value, and maybe even working the muscle around seeing yourself through the lens of the divine, seeing the perfection, the divinity of who it is that you are, and recognizing and realizing, like, who am I to doubt my own divinity? Who am I to doubt my worth? Honestly, you know, who am I to doubt my worth? And yes, this is a money house, but it can also show up where if you are in certain relationships or in certain dynamics where your worth is not being honored and appreciated, it's recognizing in the eyes of your ancestors, in the eyes of your angels, they would not want you to settle for less than you deserve. And you have to know your worth because other people benefit when you do not. So with the energy of North Node second house, some of you may be intuitively guided at this time to take steps necessary in order to stand in your worth, in order to initiate the financial conditions that you want, in order to make certain visions a reality that will help expand your resources in some regard. Second house is also possession. So some of you can make big purchases throughout this cycle and trust your intuition when it comes to these particular purchases. You have South Node in Virgo in the 8th house, so some of you may find that this is a time that you're being very conscious around wanting to release debt within your life or release the hold and the worry that debt has over you. Can also be a nudge here if you find yourself obsessing and worrying around your debt and how am I ever going to pay this all back? You know, it's not a light switch, certainly, but the energy of South Node Virgo may prompt you to recognize how much that fear and that worry is holding you back and how it's really not doing any good. You may be more apprehensive around wanting to borrow money from other people during this time, really wanting to own your results or own your stuff or make your own money. That could be a focus during this time. Some of you, not all, may experience somebody cutting you off, or maybe your spouse isn't making as much as they were before. And with the energy of North Node in the second house, a lot of you could be guided to start making money. And it's not just around the money that you bring in, but also like the spiritual value of it, where money is essentially a symbol that represents something so much bigger than just the actual exchange of goods. It's like if some of you are stepping into making money for yourself, it's recognizing while your financial status does not summarize your own worthiness altogether, it can be helpful if you are wanting to build something that's your own and like seeing the money that you're bringing in and seeing the value around, I did this, right? I can believe in myself. I can trust myself. For if you do get out of debt, it's like taking that time to celebrate yourself, to cheerlead yourself around, I did that for myself. You know, second house is very much associated with self-sufficiency in a sense. So the energy of North Node second house, spirit might be pushing you towards opportunities that are, yes, financial opportunities, but it's financial opportunities for you to learn soulful lessons could be coming to the surface at this time. And as we know, North Node in Pisces is a very spiritual, soulful transit. And that might seem like a strange combination when we consider the very material, practical nature of the second house around how we make money, how we spend money, what we spend money on, our possessions. But I want to bring up something for your consideration that when we consider, I'm a soul, I'm part of something so much bigger than this, we also acknowledge that this experience is finite. And with the energy of second house, you can invest in the things that make it more enjoyable. You can decorate this experience in the ways that feel soulful and aligned for you. Maybe that's cultivating a personal style. Maybe that's investing in the possessions that bring you joy. Again, we can acknowledge that things aren't everything, while also acknowledging that they're nice to have every so often. And if you've been somebody where you hesitate to invest in the things that you really value, you really like, some of you might find that the resources open up where you're able to cultivate that for yourself, bringing you enjoyment and comfort and decorating your life in a way that feels like you and makes you feel like the soul that you're here to be. Maybe it's even investing in things that support your own spiritual practices, something like this. I also want to say South Node in Virgo is transiting your 8th house. And this, amongst other things like debt, shared resources, also governs death. And so some of you with South Node Virgo in 8th house could be releasing your fear of dying. I think when we can release our fear of dying, just acknowledge it's part of this human experience, it's a season that we go through. When we release our fear of dying, we give ourselves permission to really live and to enjoy this experience while we're alive. It's not a light switch, it's not something you turn on and off, but you might find during this time that you are wanting to invest less of your energy around worrying around the end or the worst case scenario and wanting to just enjoy, flow with how things are. Some of you could even find you are releasing grief because you acknowledge that your loved ones who have crossed over are alive around you, within you. Some of you could even have certain talismans, certain keepsakes from people who have passed on that do remind you that their spirit lives on. That energy is never created nor destroyed. And with the energy of North Node Pisces, it's recognizing that your loved ones are still alive, still part of this experience. You're a part of their legacy. When you wear their jewelry and remember them, their legacy lives on. When you pray and remember that they're around you, their legacy lives on. Like second house is what's very physical. So maybe that's giving you some sort of comfort around certain grief that you have navigated or are navigating. If you are a Capricorn rising and or North Node is transiting your 3rd house, the South Node is transiting your 9th house, this message is for you. I want to let you know that spirit is all around you. You don't need to go to a church. You don't need to travel abroad. Spirit is all around you. Synchronicity and magic is all around you if you look for it and you are being guided to look for it. And why I say this is because a lot of you are shedding at this time this grass is greener energy around as soon as I'm traveled here, or as soon as my life looks like this, as soon as I achieve this, then I'll be happy. Then I'll feel like I'm living my purpose. And with the energy of North Node and Pisces in the 3rd house, you're being guided to acknowledge that your purpose is all around you. Your purpose is how you said hi to your neighbors this morning. Your purpose is how you pet your neighborhood dog down the street. It reminds me of this cartoon where the protagonist of the cartoon was asking that same question, what's my purpose? And going about their day-to-day life, just like racking their brain around, what's my purpose? And they were holding the door open for people and they were doing favors for people, but removed from their situation, so lost in their own head around what's my purpose? What's the meaning of it all? And it's like, the meaning of it all is how you held that door open and how you were a friend, and how you did a favor. It's like not feeling like our purpose is this big sweeping thing that's out there. It's in here and it's around here, because 3rd house is your own backyard. So you are being guided throughout this nodal story to see where it is that spirit is talking to you now and working through you now within your immediate surroundings. You know, 9th house is very out in the world, and there could be an energy around as soon as this happens or as soon as I acquire some sort of wisdom. Be aware for this present iteration of your journey. See where it is that you can find the magic even in the mundane circumstances of your world. See the beauty, see the divinity. Focus on what's going right rather than what's going wrong. See every person that you interact with as a piece of God, because truly that's what we all are. And with North Node 3rd house, it can be a time that you're being guided to encourage the conversations that are soulful, that are eye-opening, that connect us to something more, even if it's with people where we wouldn't expect wisdom to come through. You know, 9th house is things such as college halls and faraway lands and leather-bound textbooks. And North Node is small talk. You know, you can say something poignant to your barista that changes their life. Your neighbor could say something to you that's simple, but communicates a profound truth. While it might take years and even decades to internalize lots of spiritual knowledge, there can be an analogy or something that you share that just helps someone click something into awareness for someone that thus changes their life. With the energy of third house, it's recognizing that sometimes small interactions, small events can illuminate big discoveries. And some of you might be channeling a book. Some of you might be working on a podcast. Some of you might be sharing more on social media. And I know a lot of you are Capricorn rising, so you like things a particular way, but a lot of you are being guided to really flow with it, to not let critique or trying to please everyone or even your own critical mind get in the way of what's flowing through you and from you. Some of you may be forgiving a sibling at this time. I know that's random. Some of you could be connecting deeper with your neighborhood, with your community. It's not that you can't travel, okay? It's not that I'm saying that you need to cancel your travel plans, but I would release any sort of idea of them unfolding perfectly, right? Like the energy of South Node Virgo in 9th house, I feel that a lot of you are releasing unrealistic expectations. I think the energy of North Node Pisces asks us to release attachment. Because if we release attachment and don't build up, whether it's vacations or experiences, if we don't build things up, we are always pleasantly surprised, right? And so there can be an ask to let go of attachment or feeling like the trip needs to be out of this world perfect for it to still be memorable. And sometimes the most memorable experiences, or at least the experiences where we learn the most, are in the mistakes or in the snafus or in the situations that unfold that were not according to plan. And I see some of you are finding that throughout this time. 9th house also governs higher education, academia, and so some of you could be letting go of your plan. Maybe some of you have wanted to get your master's since you were 7 years old, or you always thought you would go to college right after high school. And some of you might be letting go of that plan in order to embrace the changing circumstances, or maybe even learning a trade instead. Like third house is more so practical skills that a lot of you are bolstering at this time. A lot of you are learning at this time with North Node Pisces in the third house. Third house is a two-way street. Some of you could be a source of spiritual wisdom or guidance for others, and you may find that other people or more regular sources are conduits of very impactful spiritual wisdom for you throughout this time. And there can be many learning opportunities awaiting you within this next nodal cycle. You may feel inclined to learn about spiritual topics. You may be inclined to dive into things that support with your healing. Maybe even books, podcasts, content that supports your own frame of mind. You know, I am a Pisces myself, and Pisces is the fish. And I think it's important when we talk about Pisces energy, the waters that we curate. Right? If we're fish in a fishbowl, the waters that we have around us. Because to a certain degree, dirty water equals sick fish. And for you, that's coming up particularly by way of the content you consume, the books that you consume, and even just the mental loops and stories that you tell about yourself. You know, Pisces is considered a quite delulu sign. They're a little bit in their own world, but I think it's an art and a practice to be in your own world, to cultivate your own world. This world is harsh enough. You need to ensure that you build a mental landscape, a fishbowl within your mind that holds your thoughts and frames your life experiences, that is supportive, that is loving, that is compassionate. And maybe this nodal cycle is to do just that, and to maybe even support yourself with content that can support that worldview, as well as being able to frame within yourself the experiences that you have, being able to see the spiritual lessons in it, or being able to just witness, okay, this has got to be part of a bigger story. Because even by you synchronizing with that way of thought, you are aligning yourself to look out for opportunities. Because when we believe this is happening for my highest and best good, or I'm learning something spiritually from this, or I'm divinely guided as I move through this, the more that we sink into that paradigm, the more that we look out for reasons why that's true. It's important to remember your mind always wants to be right. It always wants to feel validated within its own point of view. So if you're curating an inner landscape, an inner fishbowl, so to speak, that's affirming how everything's the worst and you're in it all by yourself and everything is random and meaningless, by all means, feel free to cultivate that. But do know that your mind will pick out data that affirms that worldview. We take in, especially in this modern age, we take in so much data. We have social media algorithms that will affirm things that align with our own worldview. You have to be incredibly conscious what it is that you are drinking, what it is that you are soaking up, because we look out for the data, we filter through things that affirm our own worldview, and then we get recycled that via algorithms, as well as just what it is that we tune into, how it is that we frame our own internal story. So it's going to be important for you during this nodal story to dive into your own internal landscape, make it one that is supportive, look for opportunities to learn through everything, be open to downloading information, channeling information at this time. Again, some of you could be learning spiritual topics, or some of you could be really stepping into your spiritual gifts and communicating more so. Even if you're not talking about spiritual themes, you could be experiencing the sensation of flow on your radio show or in your work social media account. Like, you can feel like you are feeling into more of the sensation around feeling very aligned with the universe and almost being like a mouthpiece of the universe to a certain degree in whatever your chosen aim is. And to know that we don't need to be in faraway tropical locales and distant universities in order to seek knowledge and to seek wisdom. And be open to learn. You know, third house is very two-way. Information that's coming in, information that's going out. And know that with the energy of North Node Pisces, a lot of you may be guided to really speak up or to make a difference via your voice. Embrace this. So this message is for you if you are a Sagittarius rising, or you have North Node in Pisces in your 4th house, South Node in Virgo in your 10th house. This nodal story for you is about really diving into your foundations, revisiting your foundations. That's really what we talk about when we talk about the 4th house. I always think of the chart like a tree, and I apologize if you watch my videos and you heard me run this analogy back. Listen, an effective analogy is an effective analogy. Let me live, okay? But I always think of the natal chart as a tree, and the 4th house, the roots. Because we don't see, when we see a big glorious oak tree, we don't see its root networks beneath the surface. That informs where it's come from, that informs how many storms it could withstand, and that allows it to draw in nourishment by way of its root network system beneath the surface. It's not visible, but that's why that oak tree is able to grow so tall. And this could be a time in which you are being guided to tap into your roots. And this could literally be your ancestry, your familial roots, really wanting to dive deeply into who you are and why you are the way that you are. And maybe even the spiritual cycles and themes that have perpetuated throughout generation to generation. With the energy of North Node Pisces, some of you may arrive this conclusion or this realization throughout this period around honoring that while you can feel any type of way around, your caregivers and your family members and certain generational cycles, there might be a spirit of acceptance that you eventually come to. Pisces is very spiritual, it's very empathetic, so it's not validating the hurt that was caused, but it's seeing, they were souls doing the best that they could, and they had their own stuff, they had their own triggers, they had their own cycles that were passed on. And it's not saying you need to forgive everything that they did and how they treated you and what they allowed to continue for some people. But some of you may find that you're able to arrive to this more spiritual conclusion around seeing the big picture, that their soul's doing the best that they can, and maybe even certain parts of your own spiritual journey were catalyzed by these experiences of your roots. That could be one manifestation of this. Now, some of you could be really wanting to dive into your home, really wanting to own property, really wanting to own land. There could be an acknowledgement during this time around how important it is to have a sanctuary or just to dial into your home environment. This could be an element of a lot of growth, and the eclipses could make that clear. I mean, some of you could be moving, some of you could be buying property, some of you could be remodeling your house. You're really prioritizing the elements of life that people do not see, but again, it's your root network. It's what you retreat to at the end of a long, hard day that allows you to draw the spiritual sustenance to continue to go on. Because South Node in Virgo will be in your 10th house. And so some of you are moving into a period, maybe you're already feeling this, in which you're feeling very burnt out. You're feeling very drained as it relates to work. You are maybe somebody where a lot of people come to you for guidance and for advice, and maybe you feel like you're doing the job of 3 people or something like this. You could just feel like you are being overworked and undervalidated in some way, or that people are not even integrating the advice that you're giving. And so you're feeling drained. Like you could have the same client or your boss coming to you with the same problem and you're suggesting solutions and you're just feeling drained because nothing changes. Like that could be something that you're in at this time. Some of you may find that you are feeling misaligned with what it is that you're doing. You know, with the energy of North Node, Pisces, 4th house, a lot of you are really diving into even your spiritual roots, your practices, your intuition, and that might, in the years to come, kind of inform any sort of career choice that you want to make, ensuring that it's really one that builds upon what it is that gives you a sense of meaning, maybe even the work-life balance that you're craving, the time with family that you're craving, the lifestyle that you're craving. And some of you could just feel like what you're doing now is not contributing to the bigger picture of what you want to create. You might not feel like you have a sense of meaning there. You might feel like it's a lot of meaningless work or a lot of data or a lot of little things. Or you could just feel like you're working really hard and you don't feel like you're building towards something. The energy of Virgo is busy, busy, busy. And so you could feel like you're being busy, 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 but you're not building towards anything substantial, making you feel like you're a hamster in a wheel. That's how some of you could be feeling. Now, let's say you are deeply aligned with what it is that you are doing. It's not that every, one of you is going to quit your job or have some sort of dispute with an authority figure. That could absolutely be the story for some. But others of you are getting out of this cycle around feeling like you need to micromanage. For some of you, I'm feeling that you're actually letting go of a cycle that you could have been in around being a leader, but feeling like you need to be checking in on everything that people are doing or just worrying or obsessing. Some of you might be worrying or obsessing over how it is that you are perceived in the public eye, with your reputation, things like this, trying to control the narrative. And some of you are just recognizing, even if you are in the right field and doing what it is that you are here to be doing, some of you are just recognizing how much of you it gets. You could feel like your life work is taking the biggest chunk of it. And you might be feeling called to prioritize other matters of life. Now, I need to be forthright, nothing scary whatsoever, but sometimes eclipses make this story very clear. So sometimes there's an event with our family, there's an event with our home, there's an event with work that makes it clear that balance between these sectors is necessary. Sometimes the universe gets our awareness or gets our attention that things are misbalanced or that too much of our energy is going towards work or something like this by a life event that kind of snaps us into awareness around what's sacred. And for some of you, you could be delegating more or releasing any style of micromanaging, or even if you own your own business or something like that, you just might find you're less inclined to work just to work. You're really wanting to build towards something that gives you a sense of meaning, that builds towards the lifestyle that you desire. And these eclipses could be making that very, very clear at this time. If you are a Scorpio rising, or North Node in Pisces is going through your 5th house, South Node in Virgo is going through your 11th house, this reading is for you, this message is for you, and this nodal story for you is really around prioritizing the present moment. Knowing that the more that you take care of the moment that is directly in front of you, the more that your future is building and aligning itself. Let's dive in. So firstly, North Node in Pisces is a cosmic signal to go with the flow. Luckily you are a water sign, or most of you are water rising, so you know what that looks like. But some of you may find that you are surrendering a lot of control issues, which I know as a Scorpio rising is not always so easy, right? because South Node in Virgo 11th house firstly does signal that you are having to release controlling the future. Maybe you had a certain timeline around, I'm going to be married by this time, or I'm going to be the CEO of my company by this time. Maybe you go into this nodal cycle with certain timelines, with certain expectations, and you are hustling and forcing them into alignment. I'm not saying that those things will not come into fruition, but they may not come in the way that you want them to, or particularly in the timing that you want them to. And with the energy of South Node Virgo, there's like this nudge that you could be feeling around wanting to micromanage the universe or force things that you want to come into existence. And I know it's easier said than done, but a lot of you are being guided during this time to pay attention to what is in front of you. What do I mean by this? So 5th house is around the present moment. It's also around play and fun and creativity. And so where you could experience a lot of gain throughout this nodal story is the more that you tune into what's feeling really good right now. Because a lot of times when we are trying to build and hustle and plan for the future, that's a great quality to have in a lot of instances, but a lot of times it makes us live in something that does not yet exist. Like tomorrow does not yet exist. And if we're constantly planning for tomorrow, we are consistently delaying what we want to feel. Again, you can make your dreams reality with a lot more ease the more that you tune into the feeling and see where you can step into that feeling now. Rather than feeling like, I'll finally feel happy, I'll finally feel fulfilled when this happens and this happens. See how you can reach those goals by tapping into that energy of happiness and fulfillment, being grateful for where you are on your path, trusting the universe that the next step of your path will reveal itself. That actually makes us more magnetic for what it is that we desire, rather than hustling and forcing and consistently delaying our happiness, delaying our joy. As soon as this happens, as soon as this happens, as soon as this happens, as soon as, what is alive right now? Because sometimes we're so deeply wanting the next chapter of our life to be here, we feel like that's when our life will start. As soon as I'm CEO, as soon as I get married, as soon as I move, whatever it is, we're like, that's when my life will begin. And sometimes we get so frustrated when we keep experiencing resistance that's keeping us in this current chapter that if you asked us, we would rather bypass, we would rather jump to the next one. But the thing is, that change that you're desiring, those shifts that you want, they are on the horizon. Be where it is that you are right now. I just remember something that I was really trying to force into alignment was quitting my 9-to-5, my last normal job before doing this. I remember I wanted out. And I just felt like I would finally be happy as soon as I was able to quit. And I would just analyze and go over the numbers again and again and again, wondering, when will I quit? When will I quit? When will I be able to be free? When will I be able to be free? And I wish I could go back to that version of me and say, Haley, it's coming. It's coming. Just be where it is that you are. Because whether you are conscious of it or not, there will be certain elements of your life as it is now that you will miss. If you see within your future, I want to be married with kids at this particular age, enjoy being single. This is a temporary season of your life in which you are fully able to be in your own energy and do what it is that you want to do. Don't feel like your life begins as soon as that happens. Your future you who has that is wanting you to enjoy what is in existence right now. Even if you're over it, even if you're ready to bypass it, be where it is that you are now. Savor it, soak it up. If you want to be CEO of your company, enjoy the freedom that you feel like you have currently, or that, this job is not your entire life. If you want to move, enjoy your city as it is now. Even though I absolutely work my dream business and my life is a dream and I love it, sometimes I look back at that period of my life and working my 9-to-5 with a certain degree of nostalgia, just because there were seasons of that were enjoyable. I liked my coworkers. I liked being part of the corporate lifestyle, going for happy hours and things like that. It was a different way of life, and I look at it with a certain sweetness. And I wish all of those years, literally I wanted to quit for years before I did, those years of just being in agony and distress around win, it's on its way. Enjoy where you're at right now. This moment is finite. I know it seems like when we're in something that's not ideal, It can feel like we're gonna be in the season of our life forever, but you're not. So see where it is that you can savor it and really enjoy what's in front of you. Have gratitude for what's in front of you rather than feeling like your life needs to look like a future version of you for you to experience joy. Be where you are. So the biggest thing I would say is don't rush or force things to come into alignment when it's not meant to be. With North Node Pisces, important time to trust the universe. Also, this is alive within creativity. You know, 5th house is around creation. And sometimes we can get bogged down around filming a video, wondering how is this going to perform? Or filming or writing a song. Is this going to trend on TikTok? Whatever it is, we can be so in the future tense that we forget to be in the process of creativity, which dilutes it because you have all this other energy involved around what is my agent going to think of it, or what are my fans going to think of it, or what have you. What are my subscribers going to think of this? The best thing that you could do, especially if you are someone who's creative, fall in love with the process of creating during this time. Allow yourself to flow with it. You know, for a majority of this transit, we also have Saturn in your 5th house. So yes, you do have to be disciplined around cultivating the time to create, but see where it is that you can get in flow state, where it is that you can channel, where it is that you can allow muse to move through you or to create through you. Just being absorbed within the present moment, falling in love with the process of creating. You might find like your art is a lot more magnetic the more that you detach from putting expectation around what it needs to do in the future or what other people have to say about it. Because widening this conversation beyond creativity, I do want to let you know that South Node 11th house has to deal with people, colleagues, friends. And with South Node here, a lot of you are being guided to detach or release, feeling like you need to be understood by other people, feeling like you need to keep up with the Joneses, feeling like you need to be part of a group. You know, some of you might be around certain friendships where there is a degree of some criticism or some nitpicky energy. You leave certain environments and you're like, do they like me? Do they not? Like, was that a good interaction? Like, why do I feel drained? Why do I feel like they picked apart the way that I'm living my life? You know, I have to be forthright with you. This might be a time that you are consciously creating distance from friendships that you feel that way about, where you are like, they nitpick me or criticize me or just make me feel very ambivalent when I leave those interactions. Like, do you like me? Do you not like me? What's the deal? These eclipses may reveal to you what individuals are no longer aligned with your pathway forward. I was just listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about the effects of relationships on our body, on our health. And fascinatingly, ambivalent relationships, the sort of relationships where we're not sure we're going to leave the dynamic in a more positive state or in a more negative state, dynamics where we're not sure what we're going to get when we interact with them, those actually are more detrimental to our health, both physical and mental, than relationships where it's clear that we are enemies. Because when it's clear that we are enemies, we're not going to go into that dynamic feeling open to it. We're not going to spend time around these individuals. Like when things are ambivalent or we're not sure what we're going to get or we feel drained, we are surrounding ourselves by these individuals. And it's also a little bit like a gamble. We don't know what we're going to get. We might have them be nice to us. We might have them not be nice to us. And this can show up within coworkers, colleagues, friends. I just feel like some of you are seeing where there might be kind of frenemies in your midst. And some of you might feel called at this time to distance yourself from these individuals or even just these groups, these organizations, these places where you do gather. Maybe you're part of a certain scene, you're part of a certain online community or something like that. This can be a time that you are letting go of certain connections, but you're also letting go of needing validation from certain connections as well. You know, within friendships, within your life, this doesn't even need to be a nefarious thing, but sometimes there's certain social dynamics where when you get with them, it's like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing this, and it leaves you feeling bad about yourself because your life looks different. And with the energy of South Node 11th house, it's really letting go of any sort of need that you need to compete with what other people are doing, with what it is that they're achieving, with what their lives look like. Like I know for me, when I get together with the people that I went to college with, I do walk away feeling a little weird at times through no fault of their own. Nothing wrong with them. I just feel like the path that I went after graduating is very different than the normal path, or the path that most of the people that I went to school with went. So when I'm going to their baby showers, when I'm going to their weddings, of course, a lot of the conversation at these events is going to be around babies and marriage, and that's just simply not what I've prioritized within my own path. And in those sort of situations, it's not that they don't care, absolutely not, but talking about my own path and what I've found fulfillment within, or what I really value, which is my business, which is, my spiritual growth, it doesn't always make sense to talk about within those particular dynamics, or they maybe don't know totally how to ask. Like, it's just different paths. And even though I'm not someone where I was like, I need to get married, I need to have babies, I need to do all these things, that's not in my awareness, that's not something that I genuinely desire or want, I still leave these interactions and these group gatherings with the sensation around, am I doing something wrong? Because I'm around all of these people who went this particular path, and I feel like mine took a different turn. And I think part of North Node Pisces, especially for you in the 5th house, is around deeply falling in love with your fate. Your fate is your own. And it's easy when we're around certain dynamics and we wonder, like, why haven't these things happened for me? Or did I do something wrong by not prioritizing these things? Am I a loser that I just have been spending these years, building my business? But I think the biggest thing with North Node Pisces in the 5th house is really defining success around how much does my life feel like my own? Because I can guarantee, I've never been married, I've never had babies, but I don't think having something to talk about with my college friends is a valid enough reason to start. That's not a genuine desire that sprung from self. And so just be conscious of where it is that you could be internalizing, whether it's within groups or friendships, or even just what you see on social media, feeling like your life needs to look different than how it is. With North Node Pisces, 5th house, how much does your life feel like your own? How much are you falling in love with your own path? How much are you falling in love with the creation of self? It's beyond even just finding yourself, it's creating yourself. I spoke to traditionally creative mediums, but 5th house could also be dialing into your own sense of style. It could be romanticizing your life until it feels like a work of art. Fascinatingly, I know I just talked about, going a different path than your peers, and one of the examples that I gave was children. Actually, Scorpio, a lot of you may have babies during this time. The 5th house is the house of fertility and having babies, so that absolutely is a possibility for you. I just shared that example earlier around what other people are doing. So maybe you're feeling that in a different way, keeping up with the Joneses around everybody's living this sort of lifestyle or living here, or maybe even some of you are having babies, you're pregnant, so you're not being able to spend time with the friends because there's not that degree of understanding one another or being able to relate to one another. And so this might be a time in which you are prioritizing more so your babies, taking care of your babies or something like this. Or even if you already have children, prioritizing your children, really seeking to be present in this season of their life and letting go. With Virgo in the 11th house around feeling like you need to micromanage your plan for their futures. Like with North Node Pisces, it's around how can I be really present for this particular season within their childhood? How can I really accept them for who it is that they are and let go of what society feels like they should be? Could also be a nudge here. Some of you during this time could be prioritizing dating. You could be prioritizing falling in love, wanting to fall in love. Like I said, sometimes we tap into this by way of just romanticizing our life altogether, but some of you absolutely could be dating. Some of you could be really opening yourself up to the surrender of falling in love, which is scary, right? And I think South Node Virgo, there could be this energy around what you envisioned your future looking like and the person you envision fitting into that. But the thing about love is that it catches you by surprise and it's like a wave. We can't always control who we fall in love with. And maybe some of you, this won't be for everybody, but maybe some of you have been drawn to safer partners in the past, people who fit into that overall worldview, because to be in love with the person and to feel that somewhat danger that it might not last forever, that's scary, right? It's hot. I think there's something very hot about those connections where you recognize you're like, this isn't forever, but I'm learning a lot soulfully and spiritually from you, and it feels good to like really merge into this, and I learn a lot about it. It could be very hot, very steamy, okay? Very steamy. And there is an energy, what I'm seeing is just around releasing control. And for you, that could sort of be showing up around your heart space. But I know I'm talking to a lot of Scorpio risings who are very passionate to begin with. So maybe you're down for this energy of North Node Pisces. It's not to say that a long-term relationship is not like possible during this time. It's just typically when we talk about fifth house, we talk about, you know, romance. We talk about steaminess, things like this. So whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, this could be a time of igniting that within your connection, or, you know, fall in love with somebody. If you are a Libra rising, or North Node in Pisces will be transiting your 6th house, South Node in Virgo will be transiting your 12th house, this message is for you. You are being guided to really see the magic within the mundane. You know, when we talk about mundane, it doesn't get more mundane than the 6th house. Like 6th house is how it is that we do our errands. It's how it is that we feed our dog. It's what we do for work, not what we're known for, what we're actually doing, like the checking of the emails and the resizing of the PDF or whatever it is that you do for your vocation. That's the matter of the 6th house. It's our daily routine. And you're being guided to see the divinity within your daily routine. You can see it as cleaning your house, or you could see it as cleansing away the bad energy and inviting in a spirit of renewal. You can see it as just answering emails, or you could see it as building your business within the bigger picture that's helping people realize their soul call. You could see it as watering your plants, or you could see it as you are literally growing life to something that is purifying the air within your home. Do you see what I mean? There's an energy around participating within your daily environment, your daily routine, but seeing where it is that you can apply or encourage a more soulful, spiritual, or divine way of viewing it. Or maybe even more big picture, you know, seeing the forest and also the trees. Because the thing is, you can view things as though nothing is magic, or you can view things as though everything is magic. And this transit is encouraging you to view things as though everything were magic. Because the more that you consciously seek out magic or just apply a degree of intentionality or big picture around what it is that you're doing, the more magic you will attract. And I'm feeling for some of you could really get what it is that you want by way of your routines or by way of your rituals. Like, make manifesting what you desire part of your daily routine. What I mean by this is if you connect with your higher self, or you just even think around the version of you who has what it is that you desire, who is the most actualized, empowered version of you, if you think about how they spend their routine, mirror that routine and you will become that person. Work out in the ways that that person works out. Get up at the time that that person gets up. Go about work, whether you are not working your dream job now or not, go about work as though you are already in that dream job with the same quality of excellence and the same caliber that you would hold yourself to if you were, you know, the editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine or whatever your dream job is. Even if you're just an intern at Vogue, go about it with that same dedication to your craft as though you were already in that future version of you. I'm a believer that how it is that you do one thing is how it is that you do everything. And I see that a lot of you can actually fast track the results that you want by really committing to the routines, to the rituals, to the work ethic that mirrors or supports what your soul is calling in or wants to experience. I also see some of you are really making your health a priority, your healing a priority. You know, 6th house has to do with our physical wellness, but Pisces pulls in themes of our emotional wellness, our spiritual wellness. So I'm really seeing a lot of you are dedicating yourself to routines that support you at this time. You could be meditating more. You could be cutting out bad habits. You know, some of you could be walking away from drinking or wanting to drink a glass of water before you drink coffee in the morning, or cutting out energy drinks or cutting out certain things from your diet. I just see some of you could really be wanting to treat your body right, but because of that, you are tapping into your fullest range of intuition. The biggest thing I would say is if you feel intuitively guided to cut something out, I would honor that, or add something in. If you feel inspired at this time to, you know, start juicing or something like that, I'm seeing that it could be both healing for your body as well as open up your intuition to a bigger level. Everybody is different. I do not think there's a one size fits all manual to the care and keeping of our bodies, nor the development of our spiritual and intuitive gifts. But I will share within my experience ever since I stopped drinking and stopped gardening, which was not easy to do, but I would say for me, in my experience, I got the download that that's what I was meant to be doing at this period of my life. I don't know if it's going to be forever, but what I will say is as soon as I walked away from those particular habits within my world, my intuition skyrocketed. My dreams started getting so much more vivid and prophetic. I started really tapping into my spiritual gifts in a bigger way. I think it just speaks to a degree of respect that we have for our body as a vessel and ourselves as conduits. Again, I'm not saying that that's your path. I'm just saying there might be certain things that your soul nudges you around. Gosh, I'm just no longer feeling inspired that I want to drink all this coffee. Gosh, I don't want to eat meat. Gosh, I'm feeling inspired to go to yoga. The biggest thing I would say is honor that, because it can be helpful for your body, but I'm also seeing it could be really helpful for your soul, really helpful for your intuition. And the reason I'm also saying that is because of South Node Virgo 12th house's influence. You know, we tend to think of Virgo as green juice and running and, you know, health all the time. But the biggest thing about Virgo is that it's very ritualistic. It's very habitual. And it's in your 12th house, the house of self-undoing. Our habits will either help us within our own becoming, or they will be the source of our own undoing. And so I do see a lot of you are being guided to cut something out, and it might be something that benefits your health. It also could be certain just patterns or habits that you have around being very nitpicky with yourself, being very critical. You might be your own biggest hater, and I'm seeing a lot of you are being guided to release that during this time. As well as, you know, with this influence, I would say dedicate yourself to spiritual practices that help take care of your body and your energy. Some of you could be intentionally soaking up energy from your coworkers or something like that you're being guided to have the practices in order to turn to sender or something like this. If you are not pleased with your current work, this could be a time in which soulfully you are being launched towards something new, but it is on divine timing, honestly, when we talk about North Node Pisces. But be open for what you may feel inclined to swim towards during this time. And the last message I want to say is really around acceptance. You know, 6th house, it governs our coworkers. It also governs people that we employ. It also governs our pets. And I want to draw this in because I want you to think, if you have a pet, if you have a bunny, if you have an iguana, if you have a cat, if you have a dog, you probably view your cat, your iguana, your dog as perfection, right? Like, I'm sure sometimes they do things that are not always ideal, but you probably see the beauty in them, right? And you can't help but love them. The divine views you that way. The way that you view, you know, Fluffy or Mr. Iguana or whatever your pets are named, the ways that you view them is how the divine views you. And so it's being very loving and compassionate with yourself. There also could be an energy if you have been annoyed or frustrated with coworkers. See where it is that you can have this spirit of acceptance and surrender, taking them as they are. Nobody is perfect. Again, we need to do our own due diligence, ensuring that we're not taking on any sort of yucky energy. But I do see that there's an energy of acceptance also alive here. So if you are a Virgo rising, or North Node in Pisces will transit your 7th house, South Node in Virgo will transit your 1st house, this message is for you, this reading is for you, and I am also you. We're in this together. Let's get into this. Let's get into the next season, the next chapter of our lives. So this is a time in which you are being guided to be open to surrendering deeper within your relationships. And I'm not kidding, even just saying that just sent chills down the entire back of my legs. Like, my entire legs have chills on it because that feels so terrifying. That feels so terrifying. Let me know if you're also terrified. Let me know if you also have chills. I joke. It doesn't have to be scary, but I think the energy of Virgo likes to be in control. And I think nothing takes us out of control more so than matters of the heart. They cannot be understood. They cannot be rationalized. They cannot be planned. It is such a trust fall, and it is so terrifying. And I think the energy of Virgo particularly, like, sometimes there can be this energy around really resisting falling in deeply, or being very hard on ourselves or judgmental when we do really fall in deeply, or even just not always trusting other people to surrender into them, to merge into them. You know, Virgo in and of itself is considered a very independent energy, and that's typically the way we like it. And it's not that you need somebody else during this time, but fate may want you to grow through the people that it is sending your way at this time. And that could be scary because it is such a trust fall, it is such a surrender, and it is deeply something that you are meant to learn from at this time. So let me walk you through a couple of ways of how this can show up. Firstly, some of you, if you are already in a relationship, the energy of North Node Pisces may be this signal to really embrace and accept your partner as they are. I was just listening to the Mel Robbins podcast where she was talking about relationships, and she was talking about her let them theory and the ABCDE approach. And what this represents is if you are at a hard place within your relationship, you're at a stalemate. She was essentially coaching through walking through this particular process in order to see if you should deepen the relationship or if you should walk away. And I'm probably going to butcher the intricacies of this, but essentially the A represented apologize, like going into the conversation with your partner around, hey, I recognize I haven't been great in this, or even just like asking them, how are you feeling about the particular dynamic, was represented by the A. And then B represented back off, which is once you've made your request around this is something that I need, or this is something that I think we could be better in, or this is something that's bothering me about our dynamic, ultimately you do have to kind of like back off, which is not easy to do. As a Virgo, there's like a deep desire to micromanage and improve and fix and, you know, tell your partner all the ways that they could be being better. Turns out telling people the ways that they could be doing things better naturally makes our brains defensive. Like, we do not want to hear that, and it will cause someone to shut down. And so she was saying you have to like back off in order to see if they do integrate what you shared or brought forward. The C represented cheerlead or celebrate. Essentially, if they do that thing, so if you say, hey, I want you to prioritize your health, or hey, you know, I want you to start prioritizing me more so, like really celebrate, like, hey, right on, I saw that you did this, or yeah, like really like give that positive affirmation to support the changes that they are making, if they are making them. And then D represents decide if this issue is a deal breaker to you, because there are some things in life that we cannot compromise on, no matter how much we love someone. Some of you just might have this acknowledgement at this time, especially with Saturn also here for a majority of the time that the nodes are here, around if I want children and you don't, if I want this sort of lifestyle and you don't, like at the end of the day, we can love each other deeply, but if this is a deal breaker for me, I have to walk away, because the only other option is to compromise. And if this is really that important to me, I'm going to build resentment. I'm going to make you the enemy. You're going to be the living embodiment of the dreams that I did not realize, or the kids that I did not have, or the traveling that I did not have. Again, not everything that comes up within a relationship is a deal breaker, but you have to decide if there is a deal breaker here. And E, as represented by her method, was either end the complaining, not easy to do as a Virgo rising, a lot of you anyway, or end the relationship. Because people are who they are, and I think North Node Pisces is asking us to find that spirit of acceptance and surrender, not trying to fix people or change people or improve people. And not everything's a deal breaker. Maybe you find, you know, you do voice something and you're like, you know what, this is not a deal breaker. My important values are hit here. E is end the complaining. It's just poisoning the dynamic the more that you are nagging and nitpicking around something that's really not going to change. Or in the relationship, if it is important to you. And some of you may have something like that come up. And this does not need to be a ending, breakup sort of transit. Like, some of you could experience surrender during this time, intimacy during this time. Maybe there's parts of you that resist this dynamic because it makes you so uncomfortable. Maybe some of you have avoidant tendencies or something like this, that this nodal story is kind of like kicking up and making you recognize in some ways where you might be fearful of love, because it can't be understood. And Mercury ruled individuals, most of you really want to understand this life. And so some of you can experience a lot of deepening, a lot of divinity within your relationship, feeling very guided, being able to tap into, you know, universal selfless love within this person, around really just appreciating who it is that they are. Again, I think we should all strive to be the best partner that we can be, but you are not going to be able to nitpick and change somebody to be 100% of the things that you want. Like, I think North Node in Pisces is just asking you to really be grateful for who your partner is. Again, some of you may be guided to walk away. Your soul's calling, may take you in a different direction. That's totally fine. I'll speak to that in a moment, but I want to share, if you decide, no, I want to be here, this is aligned with my soul's path. With North Node in Pisces, it could be an opportunity to see where it is that you guys can do things as a team, where it is that you can allow yourself to be supported, not always comfortable. Part of you might always want to be in that energy of the doing or of taking care of yourself, and this might be a time that you actually accomplish more the more that you merge and view things as a team, even if that is kind of scary for you. And you also might be guided during this time to really tune into what you're grateful for. You know, you have a very detail-oriented mind, so you might really pay a lot of attention to your partner putting his socks on the ground again, or, you know, he's doing this again, or she's doing this again. And North Node Pisces is really tapping into the divinity of this human being, like seeing the forest of the partner that they are, rather than the trees around all of their imperfections, because we all have them. And the more that you find fault within others, the more faults you'll find. The more that you find things to be grateful for, the more things to be grateful for will show up within your life. And that's showing up by way of your relationships. Now, let's say you decide to go a different path, because I have to be real, a lot of people are at a crossroads when it comes to this nodal story around, do I go deeply into this relationship? Do I take a different path? And some of you may be guided, whether it's a deal breaker, whether it's something like this, or just a feeling around something's off. Something's off. And you are being guided to follow that. You know, nobody knows you and knows your relationship as intimately as you do. Nobody knows the dreams that you have. Nobody knows how emotionally fulfilled that you are feeling within the dynamic more than you do. And some of you may be intuitively guided that it's time for you to walk a new direction. It's time for you to take a leap. It's time for you to explore new ponds, new rivers. You know, North Node Pisces is the fish. And only you can make that decision for you. Only you can make that decision for you. And it might not be one that other people understand. You might not even understand it. I want to let you know you are going through a transit in which you are not going to recognize yourself in a year and a half from now. We are not going to recognize ourselves. Let's stay connected throughout this journey and we'll see how we're doing. But it is a very transformative process. It is a time around evolution, and there might be elements in which you do not recognize yourself. It is an evolution, whether you're releasing that version of you that's hyper independent, whether it's releasing that version of you of who you were within this particular dynamic. This is a time that you are releasing an outdated identity. You are releasing a self-concept. You are stepping into new ways of being, and people may be coming into your orbit that are supporting your soul's evolution. That could be romantic partners, absolutely. Some of you are meeting soulmates during this time. And I want to be very clear, soulmates does not always necessarily indicate life partner, though you have Saturn here, so absolutely some of them could be individuals who you could go the long haul with. But a lot of times people come into our orbit in order to illuminate something to us, reflect something to us, for the purpose of accelerating our own soul's development. And so really honor what you're learning from others at this time, whether it's business partners, romantic partners, things like this. With North Node Pisces, they can be inspiring this new chapter, this new component of your soul's development at this time. And like I said, you know, some of you are falling in love, and for some of you that's scary. Maybe some of you have been hurt before, and that's why there's resistance. And with the energy of North Node in Pisces, it's around recognizing that absolutely there are some scary people out there who can inflict some harm, right? And that's scary. If you have a pure heart with pure intentions and you go into dynamics with individuals who are Machiavellian or who are selfish or who take advantage of you, of course, you're going to be a little defensive or a little guarded to love, because it is a trust fall. Like, matters of the heart are so not Virgo, right? Can't be planned, aren't on the timeline. It just happens when it happens. And a lot of you are being guided during this time to really do the work to ensure that you're in a space where you can surrender when it does happen. Really doing the work that ensures that your heart is open, that you are ready to accept love, that you're not going into new dynamics, holding on to old residue. And of course, discernment is important. But do not let the times that you've been hurt keep you back from finding the true, genuine love that you deserve. Truly, there are good people out there. There are kind-hearted people out there. There are pure souls out there. I know that because you exist. I know that because I exist. Again, what you are seeking is also seeking you. And if we, close our hearts and remain closed off to love, that is letting, the evilness in this world live. Love is so powerful, and you are worthy of love. And again, this does not always necessarily need to be romantic, but I do feel like a lot of you are falling in love, and it is prompting this transformative process where you're not recognizing yourself. You might show up differently in this relationship than you've shown up within past relationships. Like before in this relationship, I was 100% around my business, and now I want to be traveling with this other individual. I'm not saying you should just completely throw everything you care about to the wind when you meet someone, but allow yourself to be surprised by the new you that comes alive within this dynamic. Maybe within past dynamics, you did all the cooking, and now you're with someone who's doing all the cooking for you, and it's a little uncomfortable because you're like, that's typically a role I play in the relationship, and this is different. Every single relationship calls upon a new version of ourselves. And so I am just seeing for a lot of you, you are releasing of old ways of being in order to invite in new ways of relating. This could also show up around, some of you are taking on a business partner. Some of you are delegating, outsourcing. You're letting go of the self-concept that you're the one who does it all. Let go of needing to be seen as somebody who does it all, because it's not benefiting anyone. Certainly not you. You might be attached to being viewed in a certain way around, they do it all, right? And they do it all perfectly in typical Virgo way. But if that is leading you to feel stressed out and overwhelmed and feel like you constantly need to project perfection, even if you're anxious and you're stressed, see where it is that you can try easy. See where it is that you can invite other people to support you in the building of your dream. It's not easy, Virgo energy has very high standards of what it is that you expect from those that you partner with, but it'll be worth it. And maybe you can play with a new way of being around who's the me who's not overwhelmed with all of this stuff on my plate all of the time. So if you are a Leo rising, or you have North Node in Pisces in the 8th house, South Node in Virgo in the 2nd house, this message is for you, this reading is for you, and this nodal story for you is around being open to unexpected support finding you. And it's going to find you in a myriad of ways. So let's dive into it. When we talk about 8th house, we talk about our partner's income, but we also talk about essentially ways that money finds us unexpectedly. 8th house governs things that are more so passive, things such as royalties, things such as investments, things such as commissions and retainers. The 2nd house is very much like I clock in, I clock out. So firstly, to a practical level, I'm seeing some of you might find you're really burnt out of how hard you're having to work for money. And a lot of you are really looking at ways that you can make your money work for you, like wanting to invest in things or wanting to utilize your time in order to create things that can generate more revenue on the back end. The energy of 8th house, it's a little bit like a trust fall house, especially Pisces there. It's a little bit of a trust fall house. There's risk involved, right? Like you could make an investment, make you a lot of money, it could not. And this is not financial advice, this is astrological advice, but I'm just seeing that a lot of you may find that you are feeling a little bit more burnt out from clocking in, clocking out, or working very hard at something and feeling like your money is just going to bills to get by, and then you have to go to work the next day, feeling like you're in a certain cycle. The energy of North Node 8th house could be you wanting to view your money differently or open yourself up to other ways that money can find you and reach you. And it will find you and reach you in unexpected ways. I would definitely encourage you to start thinking about ways that your money can make you money, or there could be other ways that money could find you without being strictly attached to your time. But I would also say with the energy of Pisces, adding its little divinity here, you could just be a magnet for unexpected money. It's kind of like the universe is your sugar daddy a little bit, where you could find unexpected checks in the mail. You could be finding money. It could even show up in ways that are not monetary, around you really wanted a new coffee machine. You check next door, or you check a Buy Nothing group on Facebook and you find that exact thing. You're going to feel very divinely supported. If you have a need, it will be answered in a very unusual, mystical way with the energy of North Node Pisces. So I would even encourage, go into this period around just being open around universe. I would love to call in you know, an extra $3,000 a month, and see how the universe shows up for you in that regard. It might show up in an unusual way. It might also show up around the universe giving you an idea around how you can bring in an extra $3,000 a month. It also could just show up in, you know, some sort of lawsuit, some sort of payout, some sort of inheritance. You know, with the energy of North Node Pisces, the more that you can trust and know that you are divinely supported, the more you are going to find that that support shows up. 8th house governs our spouse's income. So for some of you, this can be a time that you are leaning more so on a spouse's income. You could find that you are releasing a stream of your own income. You could be quitting a job or something like this in order to essentially be supported by your partner. I always encourage to be wise, like ensure that you do have your own money and things like that. But the energy of North Node Pisces in 8th house could signify that there's a lot of deepening around viewing your marriage as like a team, or even like business partner, merged asset, something like this with North Node Pisces. You can experience a lot of gain in this arena potentially. Taking it outside of money though, 8th house is also the occult. It's information and knowledge that is more hidden, especially with Pisces here. A lot of you are really diving into essentially the depths of your own spiritual gifts, or of the occult altogether, of mysticism altogether. This could be an area of intrigue and interest, and you might find you're less interested with South Node Virgo in the 2nd house around stuff and what's practical. Like a lot of you could be really wanting to go in the directions of what sets your soul on fire, truly, with the energy of North Node Pisces, and being less inclined around wanting to buy the newest bag or get the newest thing, or like compete, or, you know, work super hard in order to make money just to do the same thing. Like some of you could be feeling a little burnt out from capitalism at this time, I would say. And so this could show for some around just really wanting to dive into your spiritual gifts. And 8th house also has to deal with legacy. So a lot of you could just be feeling really inclined around wanting to put your time and energy towards what will outlive you, towards what will be your legacy, towards what your calling is, and maybe asking the deeper questions in order to find that. Some of you could be communicating with your ancestors quite a bit, doing a lot more ancestor work. You know, 8th house does have to deal with passing away, so sometimes it is a time that we contemplate the finite quality of life, and also acknowledging the ways that those who have passed on, their energy is still around us, all around us. And North Node Pisces could represent a time that you are more so diving into that. I also want to share, 8th house can get a little deep, you know, and a lot of you may be really asking yourself deeper questions. And with the energy of North Node Pisces, it kind of signals that energy around when you're going through a trying time and you reach out for God. You know, those are the times that we reach out to God, to divinity, to universe the most, is in those dark nights of the soul. And I'm not saying that all of you are necessarily going through a dark night of the soul. Some of you might gain awareness during this time around how that dark night of the soul really encouraged your spiritual gifts or put you on track of your own soul's development. Some of you could gain recognition of this, but some of you could find that if you're going through something challenging at this time, I do want to say I have a all signs 2025 forecast all together, but to get more information about this, just definitely check out the Leo forecast, or whatever sign you are. If you're not a Leo rising, you just have notes here. But you know, a lot of you, especially my Leo loves, have a Pluto transit at this time, and sometimes Pluto energy can bring major transformation, major reinvention. And so this might be a time in which you are going through that evolution. Because of that, you are open to God, you're open to the universe, you're open to kind of spiritual discovery. Those are the experiences I think that make us reach for the something more, are those experiences that bring us to our knees. Because a lot of times it could be so painful, it could be so disillusioning. A lot of times everything that we thought we knew was like a lie, or there could just be an energy around having something particular painful in our lives surface. And those are experiences that bring us open to looking for divinity, or looking for purpose, or looking for meaning. And those who seek at this time will find. I want to let you know that if you are wanting to connect deeper with the universe, this can be a time that you absolutely are. And it could be really helping you if you are moving through something that is very transformative. This message is for you if you are a Cancer ascendant, or North Node will transit your 9th house, South Node will transit your 3rd house during the node's time in Pisces and Virgo. And if that's the case for you, which I'm assuming it is because you're listening to this reading, this is a time around really opening up the windows, so to speak, of your life, of your soul. It's really a time around being open to discovery, ninth house is the house of travel. So some of you could go on some deeply spiritual voyages during this time. Like some of you could return back to places that you have a deep connection to. You know, during a majority of this time, Jupiter will be in your sign, Cancer. If you are Cancer rising, Jupiter is the planet of travel. So I feel like a lot of you are traveling. You are going overseas. You're going to foreign countries. And this could be for some sort of spiritual quest of some sort. Cancer does have to deal with our roots. So like I said, connecting to certain parts of your ancestry or your culture by visiting places that you have a deep connection to. But some of you could go on some sort of retreat that's very spiritually awakening. You could even just be in this space of growing. Even if it's not a spiritual quest, some of you could be writing from abroad. Some of you, your business could take you abroad. You're really looking around how it is that you can widen your worldview and be open to growth, you know, open to coming out of your comfort zone. You know, I know I'm talking to a lot of crabs. Cancer's the crab. But this is a time that you're being asked to come out of your shell a bit and really be open to viewing your life like a quest. Even if you don't book that plane ticket, even if you don't go abroad, even if you don't book the retreat, there's a desire to widen your perspective, to be open to new dimensions of your life to open up. This could be diving into a spiritual practice, something that you want to dive into, diving into astrology deeper. Ninth house is the house of astrology. Some of you could feel called there, or called to get your master's, called to acquire more wisdom, acquire more knowledge. Some of you could be wanting to get more involved with religion, being part of organizations or groups, or to be in the process of discovery. And the discovery that you're particularly after, whether you find it in an international trip, whether you find it by rejoining some sort of religion, whether you find it throughout a spiritual practice, what you're mostly interested in is exploring the dimensions of your soul, unpeeling the layers like an onion of your soul and really the purpose of life. I mean, no pressure. No pressure. You have to figure out the purpose of life in the year and a half, but truly there's just a desire to open up the window around beyond the to-dos and the daily grind and the small talk and things like that. There's just a desire around what more is out there. And what are the experiences that make me feel connected to something bigger than myself? That doesn't need to be spirituality. That doesn't need to be religion. Maybe some of you find that through music. Maybe you find that through some sort of altruistic cause. But there's a desire at this time, and you're going to feel this build throughout this nodal journey to really connect to your why you do what it is that you do, and what makes you feel connected to something bigger than yourself. You are viewing your life on a quest, wanting to get closer to your own personal sense of meaning and your own personal sense of faith, which, yes, could be found in religion and spirituality and God and divinity and all of that. Absolutely, you could be studying these themes. But there also could just be this pulse over the next year and a half around having faith in the universe, having faith that you were designed in the ways that you were in order to be led down a particular path, and being open to meet the universe halfway when you do get a particular nudge. You know, as a Cancer rising, you're very intuitive. And you're going to find that you are in the right place at the right time when you follow your intuition at this time. Like, if you are a Cancer rising, you're ruled by the moon. So we could argue that the North Node and the South Node are your ruling planets. They're not planets at all. They're just calculation points. But we could argue that the nodal story has enhanced significance for you. And with it in the ninth house, like a lot of you, if you are going into this period lacking faith or even lacking connection to the divine's going to show up for you in this next year and a half. You're going to feel that support by way of angel numbers, by way of getting a certain nudge and taking action and it working out beautifully. I just feel like you're co-creating with life. You're co-creating with divinity. You are viewing your world through this lens around, what if I was divinely designed? And what if there is a purpose and a reasoning to my being here? And what if there's a reason I feel so drawn to this? And what if there's a reason I want to travel here? And the more that you follow those hunches or those nudges, the more you're going to build that muscle of trusting your intuition, because you see how divinely guided you are when you do follow it. And it transcends reason. It transcends logic. You have South Node in Virgo in the third house during this time. Virgo wants to plan. It wants to organize. It wants to understand the rationale, what is rational and logical. and third house is very much this way as well. And so there could be an energy where the decisions that you're making, or it doesn't always make sense. You're like, I don't know why I feel so called to travel to Bali. I don't know why, but I just feel like I gotta go. Or I don't know why I feel so drawn to this retreat. I don't know why I feel so drawn to getting my master's. I don't know why I feel so randomly inspired to look at my human design chart or whatever it is. A lot of experiences transcend logic. And this is the time you're being guided to live by faith and not by sight, essentially. And with the energy of South Node Virgo in the third house, some of you are releasing how it is that you criticize and nitpick yourself. Some of you are scared to take a chance, scared to put yourself out there. You're Cancer, a lot of you, you're sensitive, you're vulnerable, but so many of you are scared to take a chance to put yourself out there because you think about the what ifs, what could go wrong, that doesn't feel safe. You know, see, Cancer has a lot to do with stability. What if it all goes right, Cancer? What if it all goes so beautifully right? And your own GPS system will guide you. Like, there will be things that your mind will try to trick you into. Pay attention to how things feel and trust that, even if it doesn't make sense. People are trying to tell you to live your life this way and you're like, I just feel called to live it this way. You are developing a deep sense of trust in yourself and in the universe at this time. And you are releasing any sort of narrative that's around nitpicking yourself, being hard on yourself. Again, I feel like with North Node Pisces in the 9th house, a lot of you are just recognizing the divinity of what your soul is and what God, universe, the divine built you to be. If you're somebody who focuses on the negative parts of your birth chart, you focus on the negative parts of your destiny, I feel this is a time around falling in love with your destiny because it's yours. It's your chart. It's your calling. You might as well fall in love with it. Focus around what's right with it rather than what's wrong with it. And with the energy of South Node Virgo in third house, a lot of you are releasing a negative way of talking to yourself, a tendency of fault finding, a tendency around worrying around what could go wrong. Some of you are going to feel less inclined during this time to be around places or to have conversations of small minds is what I would say, or just people who are just talking about the mundane aspects of life. You could be really wanting to have really big, soulful, meaningful conversations and being less interested in just the day-to-day drivel that you just have no interest in. I hope that's a word. Drivel? Is that a word? Editing Haley? Double check that and I'll put on screen the word that I meant. I basically meant just meaningless words that don't really amount to much, at least in the season that you're in. Like, you could just find you're less interested in gossip, you're less interested in social media, you're also less interested in having conversations where people are trying to judge you or tell you how to live or tell you how to be. You are only interested with North Node and Pisces around making your spirit guides proud, making your ancestors proud. Like, a lot of you are releasing validation from other people who honestly were never intending to validate you, are only just going to criticize you. Have you ever found that where there's certain dynamics within your life where you want so badly for somebody to say you did a good job or you're so this, but as soon as you fix that element of your life that they were complaining about or telling you that you're a loser about, then they have something else to say and you recognize, oh, it's never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough for you. South Node Virgo could be you maybe not releasing those people, but releasing needing your validation from other people being able to see that and affirm that for you. Like with North Node Pisces, it's embracing who it is that you are, you know, messiness and all. Seeing yourself in the ways that the divine would view you, I feel is something that's coming to the surface here. And 9th house has to do with academia. Some of you could be learning, some of you could be teaching, something like this could be alive here, and some of you could just be on your own quest, your own journey, looking for a sense of meaning in your world. And with the energy of Pisces, it feels like a lot of you are going to find it throughout this journey. If you are a Gemini rising and or North Node in Pisces will be transiting your 10th house, South Node in Virgo will be transiting your 4th house, this message is for you. And the emphasis and soul calling for you throughout this nodal journey and the eclipses associated with it is really around wanting to find a higher purpose in how it is that you reach the public. For many, this is going to be career. If you feel that you are in the right field, this could be a time of major acceleration, really stepping into your life's work, really having certain situations unfold within your career that make it clear that you are the right person in the right timeline, doing the right thing, just feeling this element of synchronicity or just acknowledging all of the parts of your journey that led you to where it is that you are currently. And for a lot of you, having a lot of gratitude over that. You know, North Node in the 10th house can be a time that things really do speed up. And with the energy of Pisces, it's operating on divine timing. Maybe some of you have been waiting for a period in which all of your hard work would be rewarded. I mean, Saturn's also here for a majority of this time. And this is a time in which you are being rewarded. You know, a lot of your efforts are being fast-tracked. Like, I will highlight for my chart personally, when I had North Node in my 10th house, like that was when my YouTube finally started to go well. Took a long time, a lot of building, and things sped up quite a bit during North Node in my 10th house. A lot of you could experience results like that by way of your career, by way of reputation, fame, anything like this. You could experience a lot of acceleration, particularly if you are doing what you are meant to be doing. Because that's the energy of Pisces. Nobody can take for you what is meant for you. Like, that position was meant for you. That calling is meant for you. And this could be a time of really accelerating your pathway to meet it halfway or to align with it. And if you are not, I would say this can be a time that fate can find you for career change of some sort. You know, when we talk about eclipses, we talk about shifts coming in and out. So a lot of you could step into a career where it's like right place, right time, right timeline, right soul, right skill set. You know, North Node Pisces, we have to trust in the timing of our lives. And even if you're not working your dream job at this time, with North Node Pisces, a lot of you could be recognizing the soul growth that is showing up within work. Like, maybe there's some sort of frustrating situation with your boss or something like that. And with North Node Pisces, you're taking a step back and acknowledging, like, big picture, how this experience is really catalyzing your growth. It's helping you learn how to be a leader. It's helping teach you forgiveness, whatever the lesson is. I feel like a lot of you are learning a lot of spiritual lessons within your career. A lot of you may be guided during this time to take a step back, even to a micro level, even if you're just, sending emails and doing this and doing that. Tune into the bigger picture of what you're doing. Tune into the people whose joy you are adding to when you hand them their cup of coffee in the morning. Tune into the cause that you're working on within your nonprofit. This could also have nothing to do with like what it is that you physically do for work every day. Some of you could be experiencing acceleration as it relates to some sort of passion project, as it relates to some sort of outlet out in the world, what it is that you want to be known for. Maybe you start your own thing on the side, or you experience some gain as it relates to your art, or you're starting to get more into spirituality and you're wanting to share more about that. This could be a time in which you are being nudged to do just that. And if you do not work, I would say with the energy of North Node in the 10th house, especially in Pisces, it is a time around a feeling of acceptance and surrender as it relates to how you're viewed by other people. 10th house has a lot to do with our reputation. So if you've been trying to control the narrative around how people see you or perceive you, this might be a time that you kind of like let go and let God. And, Pisces, modern ruler is Neptune, which governs screens, mirrors, cameras, anything reflective. And people will never see you as you are. They see you as they are. And sometimes the reflections of how other people see us can be a bit like a funhouse mirror, because it's like, that's not me. That's your own jealousy, your own unrealized stuff, your own assumption around someone around me. So much of what people say about us and assume about us says more about them than us. And South Node Virgo may have you wanting to nitpick and control the narrative and over-explain yourself and things like that. But the energy of North Node Pisces is like, listen, when you're main character, people are going to talk about you. People are going to talk about you. And it's just releasing the need to control or like write the narrative. When you're a star, you're going to shine. People are going to have something to say about it. I experienced so much frustration around this personally, just because I feel like it's been a constant loop, a constant cycle within my life. People talking badly about me. And when I'm told, like, oh, so-and-so's talking about you, so-and-so's talking about you, which has happened my entire life, it's always someone that I'm like, literally who? Like someone that I don't know one thing about, not one thing, don't even know their name, but they know all this stuff about me, are spreading all of these rumors about me. It never fails to shock me. And that has been such a consistent loop. I'm talking elementary school, middle school, high school, college, even the yoga studio I used to teach at. People would say, oh, so-and-so said this, so-and-so said this. And it was always people I was like, I don't even know who that is. I literally don't know who that is. And I can't believe that they not only know who I am, but are talking about me. Like what? Like everything within me in those experiences wanted to confront them or what have you. But at a certain point, and maybe you'll arrive to this point, maybe you already have arrived to this point. And I'm just going to share this just in case this resonates for you as well. For me, I reached a point of actually being grateful for it, because of these experiences, they've really prepared me to step out of needing to explain myself or needing to defend myself or needing to ensure that people have the right understanding around me. Because if anything, it just prepared me to be on the internet, because that's all the internet is people judging you and misunderstanding you. And maybe like if you're a leader at work, maybe those past experiences around people misunderstanding you or talking gossip around you has prepared you for what you need to do now, which is, detaching from it, not taking it too personally. Of course, with North Node Pisces, strive to be the most compassionate leader possible. But maybe some of you are also reaching this acknowledgement around, okay, all of the times that I felt like I was the topic of conversation or what have you, it's prepared me to be a leader. It's prepared me to have all eyes on me with the scrutiny that comes with that. And South Node and Virgo will be in the 4th house. And so some of you are letting go of what your family wanted for you. With South Node Virgo, you can have a prominent family member who's always telling you who you should be marrying or what you should be doing for career or how you should be eating or something like that. And with South Node here, a lot of you could either be creating distance from this person or just releasing a need for validation from this person. The story of the nodes, particularly when we dive into the Vedic tradition, the North Node is the dragon's head. It's a ravenous point. And a lot of things are bottomless and endless. Our desire for success can be bottomless and endless if we don't find intrinsic value or meaning in it, right? With the energy of North Node Pisces, if we don't see how this is contributing to our bigger world building, our bigger story. But also that desire for validation from family members can also be endless. Maybe you're trying to achieve in order to finally feel successful within your family's eyes, just to be told that it's not good enough, or now they're worried about this element of your life. Not all of you will go no contact, but some of you could just recognize, oh, it's never going to be enough. I'm never going to be successful enough or good enough for you. And it's just around knowing that that's not a place that you can seek validation. We constantly go back trying to seek something that will never fully be given. Maybe we'll fix this arena of our life and then this area of our life is up for scrutiny and nitpicking. And that might be something that you're letting go of, or at least letting go of the need for approval there. And deciding to approve yourself or allowing the universe to validate the path that you are on and that you are divinely guided and led. And for some of you, you could be moving. Maybe you're moving for work. Some of you could just have less time to be at home. Some of you could have an end in association with home, which doesn't need to be scary. It could just be this energy around, your children are moving out. You're an empty nester. Your children are going to school, so you have more time with them. Or there could be an energy where you're downsizing. There's something happening within your family unit that is creating certain shifts. There can be something like this alive within this nodal story. If you are a Taurus rising or North Node in Pisces will transit your 11th house, South Node in Virgo will transit your 5th house, this message is for you. And for you, the eclipses are launching you forward to making your dreams reality, right? With the energy of North Node Pisces in the 11th house of hopes and dreams. But what I want to say here is that not all dreams are for us, okay? Like you could want and desire something so deeply, so badly, and it's not part of your path or it's not part of your destiny. Like the energy of North Node Pisces is flowing with what is your destiny, not forcing what is not your destiny. And how do you know what's your destiny, what's not, is the resistance that you experience. Pisces is the fish. So if you feel like you are swimming upstream constantly, resistance, feeling less and less connected to yourself, that's a signal from the universe. The universe speaks to us by way of energy and vibration. And if things are an uphill battle, if things are a struggle, we feel like we're swimming upstream and getting nowhere, that is a signal from the universe that we are off track, that we are off course. We could desire something so deeply, and that's just not the river that we were meant to swim in. And with the energy of North Node Pisces, you can experience more actualization the more that you go with where it is that you are feeling divinely guided, the waters that you are feeling inclined to swim towards, and just really honoring what visions, what dreams are for you. Again, it's not that it won't be challenging at times. You have Saturn there, but you will feel when it's just constant resistance, constant challenge. You feel less and less connected with yourself. Your intuition is feeling less and less engaged versus when you're feeling like you are in flow, you are in alignment, you are inspired. Literally, to be inspired means to be in spirit. Like that is a signal that you are in flow. And so even if there are certain visions of how you thought your future was going to look like, this could be a time that you are paying attention to the visions that feel right. You know, what's meant for us wants us as much as we want it. And it's just allowing ourselves to be magnetized towards that path that wants us there, or that river that wants us to swim there. And so that could be a nudge here. It's just moving towards the future that they're waiting for you. What's that Tame Impala song? I don't have a great voice, but in the song Eventually, I just heard it within my mind, so maybe it's relevant. There's a line where he says, there's another future waiting there for you. And that song is actually like a breakup song. It's just basically saying like, you're gonna find your own path, I'm gonna find my own path, and we'll find the paths that are meant to be. And that feels relevant, not for all of you, but I do wanna share, you know, South Node and Virgo in the 5th house. Some of you could be letting go of someone. You could be letting go of dating someone. And again, it's swimming in alignment with your own future and freeing this person to also follow theirs. That's what I think true love is loving and adoring somebody and loving and adoring their soul so much that you want them to live their path, live in alignment with their path, and you release ownership around needing them to be yours as they do. You know, there's been certain love dynamics within my world where I knew it wasn't meant to be. They knew it wasn't meant to be. Everybody knew it was not meant to be. And it almost felt romantic the way that we were like swimming upstream, just trying to like make it work, right? Going against the universe, going against everything, because we just wanted each other so badly. But he was keeping me from my path. I was keeping him from his path. And I know that for a fact because after we finally let go, after many, many attempts to let go, it was like my entire life snapped into alignment. It was so strange. It was like right around the time that we had our final goodbye. I quit my 9-to-5, my business sped up, like so much came into alignment for me to meet that goodbye because that was the future that I was meant for. And he wasn't in alignment with that timeline. Like I couldn't have had this. I mean, that was like the beginning of my business. I could not have had Haley Comet Astrology and him. And while he was a great person and I loved him deeply, this is my calling, and not everybody is meant to be with us on the path of our calling, whatever that may be. And so some of you may be, you know, letting somebody go during this time, and with the energy of North Node Pisces, like moving towards your own visions. Maybe you guys were misaligned by way of what you really wanted out of life or your certain visions out of life. Because here's the thing, if you have certain dreams, things that you really want to realize and accomplish within your life, and you do not realize them or accomplish them because of who it is that you're connected to, like you give up on your dreams. Again, we don't have to realize every particular dream to still be on track, but you will have to deal with the resentment of not fulfilling that. Like you will have to deal with that. And sometimes we even take it out on our partner around they're the embodiment of, you know, the nomadic traveling we didn't do or the family we didn't have because they didn't want it. Like again, it's not fair to you nor yourself. If this is really a dream that is for you, what it is that you dream about, what it is that you feel intuitively guided, this could be a time that you are, you know, letting go of a romantic relationship. 5th house is very kind of like romance, situationship coded. So maybe some of you are less interested in dating just to date. You're really wanting to merge into a connection that helps you build the future in some regard. Some of you could be less interested in dating, particularly if your experience within dating has caused you to be very nitpicky or critical of yourself. You know, with North Node Pisces in the 11th house, I think a lot of you are being guided to widen your understanding of love because we tend to feel like love can only be found in romantic contexts, but love is all around you. And with North Node in the 11th house, it's a nudge to really see the love that is alive within your friendships, within the groups that you are connected to, the organizations that you are connected to, the online audiences that you are connected to, the following that you have if you're online. It's just knowing that love is all around you. It does not necessarily need to come through one particular source. And also love your fate, love your destiny, love the visions of the future that you are building, love yourself enough to build your future. You know, it's half fate, it's not half you, okay? Something could be on track for you, but you still have to meet it halfway, right? Putting yourself out there, prioritizing your visions of the future in order to get there. And some of you could be making new friends. 11th house is colleagues, friendships, people who help us. And we have soulmates who are not just romantic. Like sometimes soulmates come in the form of a friend. Sometimes they come by way of a collaborator. Sometimes they come by way of a colleague. And a lot of you could have fated friends coming into alignment at this time. And it's important the waters you are swimming in at this time. Pisces the fish, dirty water equals sick fish. You yourself might not be poisoned, but if you're hanging around the fishies that are swimming in the toxic waters, you yourself will be poisoned. And so this is a time to really ensure that you're surrounded by people who make you feel inspired for your future, for humanity's future, people who feel like-minded, people who are also making their dreams a reality. Hate to be cliche, but they say that you are truly the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So really look at the people you surround yourself, look at their lives, look at their priorities. Do you desire the lives that they have? And if the answer is no, this might be a cue to get in the room with individuals who are inspired, who are making things happen, who are bringing their dreams to reality. A lot of you with South Node 5th house may find that you are partying less, you are drinking less, you're doing things just to have fun less. Like you're really wanting to reach your dreams. You're really wanting to make your dreams reality. If you are an Aries rising or North Node in Pisces will transit your 12th house, South Node in Virgo will transit your 6th house, this message is for you. And the eclipses for you will accelerate this story around where it is that you lose yourself in something bigger than yourself in more constructive ways rather than destructive ways. So let's dive into this. So where North Node is placed is the house of self-undoing, which I know sounds kind of intense, but it's essentially the house of where we lose ourselves to something bigger than ourselves. 12th house is the collective unconscious, which is why 12th house energy tends to be a time where we can really get into our intuitive, spiritual, psychic gifts. You could get really into your dreams during this time. You could really want to lock yourself away learning particular spiritual practices or something like this. It can be a time that we're really wanting to connect to something bigger than ourselves. But what I want you to be conscious of is that 12th house is also where we seek to find that oneness in ways that aren't so helpful. Things such as substances, things such as drinking. Ultimately we're looking for that euphoria that can only be found when it comes to the selfless love of God or of the universe or of spirit or things of that nature. And sometimes we look for that sensation of oneness through alternative means, many of which that are not so good for us. This can be a time that you're craving more alone time, more solitude. And sometimes it could be a time that we do feel more isolated from other people. And sometimes we're looking for oneness, we're looking for bigger connection, and we overindulge in these sort of things in an attempt to find it in order to rectify where we feel lonely or where we feel disconnected. But that's the gift of the 12th house, is that we are never truly alone. Wherever it is that we are, we go there with our spiritual support team. We go there with our angels, with our ancestors. North Node 12th house is a time for you to prioritize building the connection with the other side. I know I sound out there to some of you. Some of you might be game and down, but a lot of you can find that that is a genuinely nourishing area of your life to connect. Because sometimes we do feel alone. 12th house does indicate isolated places, things such as rehabilitation centers. It's like monasteries, places where we disconnect from the general public for the purpose of healing, for the purpose of reconnecting with ourselves. So some of you could be seeking help, some sort of spiritual healing, physical healing, even healing from some sort of addiction or something like that could be a priority at this time. And sometimes when it comes to 12th house, it's uncomfortable to sit with ourselves, to meditate, to do the work, but that's exactly what you're being guided to do during this time. And even if you're not literally, locked away, 12th house is jail. That's not the story for everyone, don't worry. But even if you're not literally removed from the general public, there just could be an energy where you're finding that your sensitivity is rising. As our spiritual gifts increase, a lot of times our sensitivity increases as well. And that could be the case for you, where you're feeling overstimulated isolated in a lot of environments that used to be fine within, or you are feeling more drained by social interactions than you did prior. And you're really being guided to really build your own spiritual energy maintenance at this time, gaining a lot of awareness over your energy at this time. You know, some of you could find that through meditation, through mind-body practices, even just energetically checking in on yourself and returning energy that's not yours to sender. Some of you could get more into Reiki or something like that, that honors what we don't see, but is very real within this experience, truly, because what you're being guided to release with South Node, 6th house, and Virgo is this energy around only what I see is real, or like the energy of 6th house, only my tasks and to-dos and what I have to get done is real. And again, you could find that you're less motivated as it relates to the productive elements of your life, or you're feeling more drained by them. And if that is the case, I would encourage you to find your own spiritual, energetic maintenance in order to support yourself. And again, in helpful ways. Sometimes we're overwhelmed, so then we drink to numb ourselves off, or sometimes our spiritual gifts are rising and it's too much taking on other people's energy, so we, do drugs to shut it off. Like, again, constructive ways of connecting and energetically maintaining yourself. And with the energy of South Node, 6th house, there just could be an energy around being less inclined to want to fill every minute and hour of our schedule. Like, you're craving space at this time, space to connect spiritually, space to even create, space to study spiritual topics. You're just craving space. So some of you could be releasing an extra job, or even just releasing any sort of patterns around overdoing, overworking, or finding your validation in that, around being the one who does it all, or the one who's always perfect, or finding your own definition of self around how much you did. Like North Node in Pisces is just honoring that you're worthy just because of the soul that you are. And you could find like it's less and less sustainable to be in environments where it's constantly like going. Some of you are getting more comfortable saying no during this time. 6th house is about service. And the energy of North Node Pisces, it's not saying you can't care and you can't help people, but it's letting go of any tendency around micromanaging or taking things on for other people. That's really their battle to deal with. Like, really learn and integrate the wisdom, not my circus, not my monkeys. During this time around, not everything is your problem to solve. And you can't do people's push-ups for other people. And sometimes we actually inhibit other people's growth when we try. If you ever see a butterfly cracking out of the cocoon, never help it. Never help it. Even though it looks like, oh my gosh, this butterfly is like struggling to get out of the cocoon, we will actually hinder that butterfly for life. And they don't live very long, so it's not very nice to do. But we will hinder that butterfly for life if we help it out of the cocoon, even though it's struggling. Why? Because the reason butterflies can fly is because of the strength that they build getting out of that cocoon. Turns out it's like a really painful process, but anyways, that's how they're able to fly, is through that struggle. So if we were to swoop in and try to fix and save and like, I got you, we would be hindering that butterfly. Same goes with a lot of people as well. If you have a coworker who's always asking you how they can turn a PNG into a PDF, like, that is not what you are paid to do. Like, this could be an energy around, I'm going to give you the opportunity to learn for yourself. Like, it doesn't do you any good for me to be turning all your PNGs to PDFs for you, or whatever the story is. If you have someone in your life that you always have to swoop in and rescue, the energy of North Node Pisces is acknowledging the bigger spiritual lessons that we're all here to learn, and allowing other people to learn their lessons. Taking more so of a spirit of inactivity, not in a lazy way, but just seeing if things work themselves out. They typically do. If you have someone from work who's constantly making their issues your problem, their lack of planning is not your responsibility. And you can find, if you don't answer that work text, because it's midnight and you're off the clock and shouldn't be answering work texts, if you find that what was like an urgent emergency at 12, you might find by the next day, they're like, never mind. Got to figure it out, because you weren't there to swoop in. Sometimes things do work themselves out. And North Node Pisces could be you acknowledging that things do work themselves out, and pay attention to your spiritual work and allow other people to do theirs. So my loves, this is a time of spirituality, surrender, and serendipity, which for some of us in hearing this forecast, you might be like, yes, I'm ready to trust the universe and release control and step into my spiritual life calling. Some of you might be feeling a little nervous around allowing the universe to carry you through this next season of life. But what I can tell you is that when it comes to this particular journey that we are all stepping into, know and believe that you are divinely guided to be exactly where you are right now, to be who it is that you are right now, to know that the events that unfold during this time in some way are happening for you, not to you, for you. Even if we don't see it at the time, really view your world around, what if everything was happening for my benefit? What if there's something I'm here to learn from? What if there's a reason why I'm in this particular place at this particular time? Stay open. The universe very well may surprise you. So if you'd like to connect further, my Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would love to connect over there if TikTok is still an app. Actually realizing that's a little in the air. Again, North Node Pisces, I am releasing control. What will be, will be. But that's where it can be found in other places of the internet. I would also love to know below what you're looking forward to about this journey, what you're looking forward to about where it's transiting within your chart, what you're not looking forward to as much. Please let me know. It really helps my channel and my content. Any bit of engagement that you can give from liking, sharing, commenting, anything like that. I'm so grateful. If you resonated with the way that I talk through astrology, I have lots of different content here on the channel. I have all signs forecasts that I do for all of the major transits that we experience, as well as a weekly horoscope series called Magic Monday. So please check that out if you align with my style. So glad that you stopped by my cosmic corner of the internet. May you be blessed throughout the North Node Pisces journey. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.